righty, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, June 6, 2026. Welcome into the Owen Report. If you're tuned in, your favorite source for news, information, you tune in because you just can't wait. You can't help yourself, but you gotta watch and listen to your favorite lovable fuzzball every day. Maybe you tune in every day because you just need somebody to hate. You just need somebody to hate and disagree with, make you feel alive. Well, whatever the case is, welcome to today's transmission. Well, this nomination of Bill Pulte, I think, is very telling. I think it tells you where the administration is at. I think it tells you what's going through Trump's head, at least priority-wise, as far as why he's making selections as he is today. It would seemingly make no sense to have somebody that is a expert on housing and development, as successful as Bill Pulte is. Nothing against Bill, obviously. But where is the intelligence background? Well, I think it's pretty clear this has nothing to do with intelligence. In fact, it has everything to do with not having any intelligence. And again, that's not an insult to Bill Pulte. He's a very smart, successful guy. In fact, Bill, I'll grovel to Bill Pulte here to help me get into a new house. You know, the housing market, Bill, it's not good. I like some of those homes you guys have in Buda. Could you hook me up, Bill? Could you hook a brother up with a new build, Bill? Or maybe now some intelligence, since that's what you're doing now. Maybe you can hook me up with some intelligence, Bill. So, but what does it really mean? All jokes aside, what does it really mean? I'm going to explain that, at least what I think it means. And then we'll look at some of the responses. Okay, and yesterday, at the end of the show, that story broke from Axios. Trump lambasts Netanyahu. Trump lays into Netanyahu on the phone. He's F him this, F him that. Do you believe it? It came from their White House source. So the only question is, did the White House want that story out there to make Trump look good? Or did it actually happen? And Trump is genuinely frustrated with Bibi Netanyahu. Welcome to the club, if that's the case. Where do you guys fall on that? Do you think the Trump-Netanyahu phone call was real? Or do you think the Trump administration is having that story placed by its sources to make Trump seem like he's winning, he's successful? We'll take a look at that. Now, notice this. There is another perfectly timed story in the press today about Trump and Epstein. And isn't it amazing? And this has been the case for over a year now, by the way. This has been the case. Every time Trump hesitates on Iran, a new Epstein story hits the media. Every time, without fail. It's amazing how that works. It's been going on for more than a year in the second Trump administration. I wouldn't say it makes you wonder. I'd say it makes you conclude some things. No, I'm not wondering things anymore. I'm concluding things now. So here we go again. Oh, Trump hesitates on Iran. And now I've got Melania Trump as Epstein's ex-girlfriend and former hooker that he was sick of. She was no longer prime real estate. So she pawned him off to Trump. And this is what they're saying today. I really don't care if you believe it or not. I don't even think it really matters. as far as what I'm asking here, which is how come every time Trump hesitates on Iran, there's a new Epstein story in the media? Without fail, we recognize this as a pattern. No, I'm not wondering. I'm reaching conclusions now. And actually, many of us reached these conclusions a long time ago, but we're just at another evidence point. We are at another time where we can point to the evidence of the conclusions. And now there's this, we can't get our story straight. Is Iran at the table? Are we talking to Iran or not? Is the Strait open? Is it not? It's just, get on the hamster wheel, guys. Get on the hamster wheel. Or many of you now prefer the clown car. So pack it on in. Get in the clown car. We're sick of the hamster wheel. We're ready for the clown car now. Did you hear about this U.S. fighter jet that got shot down? Boy, they kept that one quiet, didn't they? They sure did. Ivanka Trump wants to have her own private island. Okay. I was going to completely ignore the whole Israel Day in New York. But after watching the coverage yesterday, specifically targeting Mom Donnie, I couldn't help myself. I'm going to cover it today. So, yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be real fun. Then let's see. We got some AI news, some data center news. Oh, the fall of Ben Shapiro. And then apparently the fall of Barry Weiss. Well, no, she's not going anywhere, but she's not very popular. Let's just say the people that have been working there for a long time are getting a little agitated at the new presence and pressure of Barry Weiss and her agenda. So we'll take a look at that. Oh, and before I sign off today, I'm going to slop you up, don't you? I'm going to slop you up. Oh, we got slop. We got some slop for you. And we will be monitoring. We're not going to see any results before the end of the show, especially since the most interesting ones are in California. But it is an election day. I think 6 states. The two that are going to be interesting is obviously California, but Iowa, I think Iowa is going to be interesting. We may look at Iowa today with some primary stuff, but all that stuff will happen tonight when we're off air, so I'm not sure exactly how much of that we're going to get into. All of that and more coming up on today's edition of the Owen Report, brought to you by our friends at Patriot Protect. Man, oh man, guys, I can't tell you how many times I see this, all of these new scams, especially with the AI now, and they can spoof voices, and they can easily spoof email addresses to make it look like it's legitimate, a text message to make it look like it's legitimate. And all they have to do is get your phone number, and then you click the wrong link, and bing, they're into your system. So how do you stop this? You got to stop the process. You got to stop them from getting access to your phone number. That's where Patriot Protect comes into play. So you've got a bunch of private information. You don't want it on the internet. It's out there. You buy something online, an online subscription service, whatever. People hack these databases, and then they publish your information on the internet. They sell it. It's crazy, but this is what's happening. Don't give them the access. Go to patriot-protect.com/Owen and hire Patriot Protect to stop them from getting this access. You don't want them to have your phone number. You don't want them to have your email address. You don't want them to have your home address, and so on and so forth. So Patriot Protect, they take that private information and they make sure that none of it is online. And wherever it is, they find it and they remove it. It's a hassle. You don't want to do it. Let the experts handle that. The job doesn't stop there. They're then monitoring the internet 24/7 to make sure that no one else can sell your information. So if it pops up again, there they are to stop it from getting into the hands of criminals and hackers. Patriot-protect.com/Owen. Folks, this is data security. This is digital security, cyber security. It's a must-have in today's modern age, especially if you spend a lot of time on the internet or you have different internet subscription services. With that information, patriot-protect.com/Owen. Protect your private information on the internet, folks. Protect yourself, protect your friends, your family that might be connected to you. You lived at the same address, believe it or not. That's how complex this stuff gets. Patriot-protect.com/Owen.
Turn my system on.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
Oh boy. I didn't even see this. Trump has posted to Truth Social 45 times in an hour. Oh, God. I don't think that's a good sign. No, that sounds like a, dare I say, a crash out. Sounds a lot like a crash out from President Trump on Truth Social today. I think he's frustrated. Guys. But you know what? Have you pledged allegiance to the gay flag? Huh? Have you done it? It's Gay Pride Month. You know, it's a little underwhelming this month, actually. I do have this. The Capitol in Wisconsin, they have raised the, let me get this straight for you here. Let's try to be factually accurate. The intersex 2SLGBTQIQ plus flag has been raised above the Wisconsin Capitol. Salute. Okay. Anybody want to take a shot at that? Intersex. I have no idea. Intersex? What is intersex? I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't even, what does that even mean? Two. Oh, no. That's 2S. I see. That's two-spirit. That's apparently a gender now, for those that aren't aware. For you bigots. You bigots. Tuning in today, you've never heard of two-spirit? You didn't even know. That's how out of touch you are. You are unaware the existence of two spirits. Can you imagine the first two-spirit president? L, lesbian, G, gay, B, bi. Oh my God. T, trans, Q. I don't know. Where are we at? Queer? Okay. All right. We're going to go with queer. Is it an I or is it a Q or is it an IQ plus? We're not bad. I think we're passing the test. We've passed the test for Pride Month, guys. Congratulations. Oh, it's questioning. Oh, I see. And of course, anybody that gets left out, you're in the plus. Anybody that feels left out by this, you're in the plus. Did your state capitol building send up the pride flag for the Pride Month? You have to say it is a bit underwhelming this year. It's nowhere near as loud as it once was, but it is kind of, now when you see it, it's a little, it's almost funny. Like you're sitting back here and you see there's like 15 professional baseball teams that posted the pride stuff, and then the rest of them sat it out. And you kind of sit here, you watch who still posts it, who doesn't, the response. But this is a nonpartisan thing here now, okay? Everything's gay now in politics. All right? Very gay. Salute that flag. I remember Trump, one of the most popular Trump hats, one of the most popular MAGA hats was actually the rainbow MAGA hat. That's right. The rainbow, the LGBTQ friendly pride MAGA hat. They couldn't keep the thing on the shelf. It would sell out of stock every time. I know. I tried to get one and I couldn't. And then luckily I'm kind of cool. I'm kind of popular. So people reached out and they sent me theirs. So I have a gay Trump hat. Huh? I mean, I should be wearing it maybe. Should I be wearing my gay Trump hat? It is gayer than ever. All right. All right. So let's get serious. Trump picks mortgage chief Bill Pulte to lead on national intelligence. Bill Pulte, the head of mortgage regulation agency and a loyalist to President Donald Trump, will replace Tulsi Gabbard, who is leaving her role as director of national intelligence. Housing official and enforcer named top intelligence chief. How many, by the way, I guess it's not that odd, but there are a lot of people serving multiple roles, I believe, in this cabinet right now. Add Pulte to the mix. Bill Pulte, a home building heir who runs the Federal Housing Finance Agency, will also be the acting director of national intelligence. They tried to make a big fuss today over Markwayne McMullen had a hearing. This stuff doesn't really hit like it used to. The Democrats crashing out during these hearings and going after the Trump appointees. It doesn't really hit anymore. And the Democrats did that to themselves. They were crying wolf about Trump and his administration since 2017, and it was 98% BS. So now with now that they have real concerns, now that the Democrats have actual genuine concerns that the American people might also share these concerns, but now because they're the boy that cried wolf, nobody listens to them. Nobody listens to them on that. But I think they figured this out. I think this is mostly just getting into these hearings and trying to make a clip for themselves. They know they can't run really on the anti-Trump thing. They've already tried it and failed. They're not going to try it again, at least to the degree that they tried it in the past. But hey, the Democrats, maybe some Republicans might have some questions about, the director of national intelligence with the vast background in housing and development, which is not intelligence. Dr. Oz sidesteps questions on Pulte's lack of intel background. This was during a press conference. Dr. Oz sidestepped questions on Tuesday about President Trump's appointment of Bill Pulte, the home builder and director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, to serve as acting head of the nation's intelligence services. Just saying he trusts the president's judgment. That's good. Like with Lindsey Graham. Are the Republicans getting ready for a break from Trump? Trump's Pulte pick for intelligence chief blasted far and wide. Top Senate Republican says we need professionals. John Thune. said, we don't need a weaponized DNI. We need professionals here. Adding Pulte has a lengthy road ahead of him if Trump wants to make his appointment permanent through the Senate confirmation process. So, in other words, the Republicans are starting to decide they're going to start getting in the way of Trump. And you could argue at the Senate level, they've already been doing that. But I think that for John Thune and many others in Congress, they're only acting as far as they think Trump's popularity can take them. And so if they've reached the conclusion that Trump's popularity can't carry them any further, then they're going to start disrupting his agenda, much like we saw in the first administration. Maybe worse, since you could argue Trump is less popular now than he was then. Now, I've anticipated that this was going to happen for a while, especially once we got out of the primary process, and the Republicans may figure a Trump endorsement during the primary is maybe necessary to win. A Trump endorsement during the general, maybe not so much, maybe even detrimental. So I think you're going to see a lot of Republicans after the primaries start to see which way the wind blows and see how much they decide they want to be a mouthpiece for Trump to get an election victory, or if they think maybe becoming an obstacle for Trump inside the Republican Party isn't a path to victory. This all depends on what district they're in. But I think you're starting to see it. Now, what does this really mean? Why is Bill Pulte the next DNI? And I think it says everything about where Trump's head is at right now. But more importantly, where the foreign policy is at and how foreign policy decisions are being made. Now, think about it like this. We are in really multi-front wars right now. And while we might not be sending troops to Ukraine or Russia, and technically we're not boots on the ground in a war with Iran, you know, these things are all blurred lines. We are very much involved in the war between Russia and Ukraine. We are very much involved in Israel's multi-front war against 7 different countries. The United States of America, we are directly involved in these wars, in these conflicts. And considering our investment here, not just of cash, but to a certain degree, blood and treasure here, foreign policy, the political ramifications, the geopolitical ramifications, every decision that gets made in these conflicts has massive, these decisions have huge implications, every single one. So you'd think having a strong director of national intelligence with a vast experience in the field would be imperative. Imperative when you're talking about these high-level decisions. Imperative when you're talking about these high-impact decisions. Permanent damage or success stories with these decisions. So why would Trump go with somebody that, as far as we can tell, has virtually zero experience in intelligence? Somebody make sense of this. Well, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make sense of it because it would seemingly make no sense. It would actually be nonsense putting Bill Pulte as the DNI right now. So why does Trump do it? It shows you a lot of these stories, and you can even go back to the first administration, but let's look at Tulsi Gabbard first. We would hear these stories, and it was eventually expressed to me how Tulsi Gabbard was sidelined. How basically after last summer, she was not involved in anything. And the last time that she was involved in these meetings last spring, and she was giving intelligence to Trump specifically on the issue of nuclear weapons in Iran. And she said, Mr. President, we have no intelligence of Iran having nuclear weapons. We have none. Our intelligence has none. We're not getting any credible intelligence or evidence that they have any. Our intelligence says they do not have nuclear weapons. And of course, that goes against Israel's interest. They want people to believe Iran has nuclear weapons because this is Israel's excuse to trick us into going into war with Iran. And so that's exactly what has happened. Tulsi Gabbard was, I don't know if you could say trying to stop that, but her intelligence was an obstacle in that, was an issue. If the DNI here is saying no nuclear weapons, well, then the whole Israeli intelligence assessment here has no impact. So she got sidelined after all of this started developing last spring. Ultimately, you had Operation Midnight Hammer. This supposedly destroyed the nuclear capabilities. Now we're back here a year later, and they're saying the same thing, and we're getting ready for potentially another war. Hopefully not. Who knows? It's peace one day, it's war the next. The strait is open, the strait is closed. It's so you can't even try to make sense of that. So why would Trump put Pulte in charge? Trump doesn't even want a director of national intelligence, folks. That's what this is. Having a director of national intelligence actually stops Trump from doing what he's supposed to be doing right now for the Israeli lobby. I mean, let's just put it in plain words. Let's leave the nuance and assumption out of this. Let's put it in plain English here. The Israeli lobby and its intelligence, which is pure propaganda, they want to make sure that the only information that Trump is getting access to is going to lead him to a decision to strike Iran or invade Iran, whatever action Israel deems is necessary against Iran. Israel wants full and complete control over the flow of this information, over the flow of this intelligence to Donald Trump. J.D. Vance is in the way. Tulsi Gabbard is in the way. Joe Kent is in the way. Many other staffers were in the way. So they're all getting fired. They're either getting sidelined from these meetings or they're getting fired. Gabbard is the latest example. This is the total information control by the Israeli lobby. This is the total gatekeeping by Susie Wiles, Bibi Netanyahu's campaign manager. So Trump doesn't want a director of national intelligence. There hasn't been a director of national intelligence for a year, folks. Now, why do I say go back to the first administration? Because there was a time, and these stories weren't denied, it was always kind of an excuse, like, well, these guys were against Trump, or these guys were bad actors, or we couldn't trust these guys. But you go back to the first administration, and you had all kinds of issues like this. It was interpreted as the deep state versus Trump. It was interpreted as the military-industrial complex versus Trump. And the belief was that Trump was standing against them, maybe trying to play a little bit of both sides. And that's why it came out in 2024 on the campaign. He was like, yeah, well, we did some strikes in Syria. I was on the phone. That was basically fake. He's like, I just agreed with these world leaders that we were going to do this empty strike to just kind of silence some other factors here so that we could go on. So that was the interpretation. That was the belief. It was the neocons. It was the warmongers that Trump didn't want to hear from, that Trump wanted to sideline in the first administration. And they'd go out and they'd write books, and you'd have, Fire and Fury and all of these different inside reports about Trump firing everybody in intelligence and getting rid of all the intelligence assets and everything else. And our interpretation is, okay, yeah, that's our guy Trump. versus the swamp versus the deep state. And the interpretation was this is a positive development. This is a good thing. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But here we are again, and it's the same thing happening. But now we can interpret it a little bit better and say, well, why don't we have a director of national intelligence? Because Trump doesn't even get intelligence from America. The American intelligence system, and look, you'll have people argue it's dead anyway, but let's just say what it is. All the information and intelligence that Trump is getting to make decisions specifically about the Middle East, it's all coming from foreign intelligence assets. And it's mostly Bibi Netanyahu. I mean, Bibi Netanyahu is the one guy more than anybody that's trying to manipulate and influence Trump. And that's why you can't have somebody like Joe Kent or Tulsi Gabbard or J.D. Vance. And that's why Bibi Netanyahu gets all pissed off when Trump is having conversations, whether it's with leaders in Palestine, leaders in Lebanon. Whenever Trump is having conversations that Netanyahu is either not directly involved in or doesn't have his puppets managing, he's furious. He becomes infuriated because he knows that's him losing control. He knows that's him losing the info war. And then he might not convince Trump to make the decision he wants him to make. So let's just put it in plain English. There is no director of national intelligence. There hasn't been a director of national intelligence for a year. The intelligence that Trump is getting is either all coming from Netanyahu or his sources or foreign intelligence agencies, and everything is being manipulated in order to make Trump make a decision in the Middle East that would benefit Israel. That's what's going on. And as soon as they identify, as soon as the deep state and as soon as the neocons, as soon as the Israeli lobby identify anybody that has access to Trump's ear that is not for this war or might have other intelligence that could turn him off of this war, they make sure to isolate that individual. And if they really want to go far, they isolate and then they destroy. Like a Tucker Carlson, a Marjorie Taylor Greene. They can't have a Tucker Carlson in Trump's ear. He must be isolated and destroyed. They can't have a Marjorie Taylor Greene with access to Trump's ear. He must be isolated and destroyed. They can't have a Charlie Kirk with access. I'm sorry. So I think you get the picture. But you should be asking the question. It's the right question to ask. Why would Trump make Bill Pulte, a housing and development guy, the director of national intelligence? Because the position is fake. There is no director of national intelligence. There is no national intelligence. Trump doesn't listen to the U.S.'s intelligence. Trump has his own intelligence sources. He's not interested in a director of national intelligence. So it doesn't matter. But it is very revealing that that's how unserious this position is now. It's very revealing that now Trump views himself as his own institution beyond the director of national intelligence. He's got his own sources. He doesn't need the director of national intelligence, which you could argue, well, maybe you're okay with that. And we did argue that in the first administration, as for the reasons I previously laid out. But now we have a good idea of the direction of influence here. We have a good idea of the direction of intelligence here that's manipulating Trump, and it's not the right direction. It's not the good direction. And the people that would have been leading Trump in the right direction, they're all one by one getting picked off and removed from the scene. And so that's, this is where it becomes so hard for us peasants, us peons, us lay people. This is where it really becomes so hard for us to even comprehend what's going on. Because you think about, okay, the implications of what we're talking about here, this is big stuff. This is heavy stuff. Well, whatever is riding on the outcome, some of it we might be able to have some context of, some conception of. Whatever, all of the stuff that's riding on the outcome of this war in Iran, folks, it is so big. It is so heavy. It will determine the future of the planet. Who benefits? Who gets power? Who gets wealth? Who controls the U.S.? Who controls the U.S. military? Who dictates foreign policy? It's all riding on this. It's all riding on this war right now in the administration. And that's why Trump says, yeah, I don't think about the midterms, because the midterms mean nothing. The midterms are meaningless. Of the larger picture here, yes, globalism, because that's what it all is now. Of the larger picture now, the midterms are almost meaningless. They might give Trump a little bit of a headache. That's probably about as meaningful as they'll be. As far as the results of what Congress does or doesn't do, just line them up and put them in the clown car again, baby. No, the outcome of this war in Iran, and it's beyond that, obviously, the outcome of Israel's 7-front war, the outcome of Israel's expansionism is beyond anything that will happen in the midterms. We're talking about trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions of dollars into the future. We're talking about turning families into wealthy dynasties, the likes of which we haven't seen in a very long time on this planet. That's what we're talking about here. So believe me, I'm like you. I got a day, I got a schedule, I got things I got to do, You got laundry, you got bills to pay, you got to get groceries, you got to pick the kids up from school, the dog needs a bath, right? Okay. That's why it's so hard for us to even comprehend the level of games that are being played right now with this foreign policy in the Middle East. And that's why it's so frustrating when we sit here and we have to discuss this. And I'll be on OAN briefly later tonight with David Pollock. And it's like, I'm so damn sick and tired of talking about the Middle East. Like, don't you get it? Israel's the good guy. Israel's the bad guy. The Muslims are crazy. The Muslims are victims. Like, I'm done, bro. I'm done. I don't want to hear about the Middle East. I don't want to hear about Jews and Muslims and Israel and Arabs and Palestine and Iran and Iraq and everything. I'm done, man. Like, we are so over it. Can you just leave us alone? Can you just get us out of here? It's like, that's the sense here. That's the frustration here. And this is why it's such a generational divide. And that debate, boomers versus millennials, it displays this. It's like there is quite literally, there is just a generational belief holding us back from freeing ourselves of this death trap, freeing ourselves from this black hole of the Middle East and the holy wars that encompass it. It's like we want out so freaking badly. And there's the boomer generation just keeping us in. There's Trump just keeping us in. There's Trump to such a degree to which, of course, his family is going to profit immensely. Here's Trump to such a degree that we're not even going to have a director of national intelligence anymore. I mean, sign up Bozo the Clown. It doesn't matter. It's meaningless. It means nothing. There is no director of national intelligence. There is no American intelligence. There's Trump and whatever he wants to do. And then there's Netanyahu and his people that have a monopoly over access to Trump through Susie Wiles, controlling what Trump sees and what he doesn't see. And then in that aspect, Trump becomes like the man in the cave. Trump becomes the allegory of the cave. But I don't think that's fair, because I think Trump is well aware of this. He's just decided he's going to position himself and his family to make trillions of dollars as long as they get the right outcome here. That's how I see it. But I can't even really do it justice. I can't even really do it justice. And the Democrats can't either, because they're the boy that cried wolf now. I mean, Trump has basically just told the entire country there is no intelligence. There is no director of national intelligence. There is no American intelligence network. If there is, or if there was, I don't listen to it. I'm not interested in it. Which, again, if you want to argue that's a good thing, that's fine. But let's understand the prerequisites here. Does that mean Netanyahu has the most influence over Trump? Does that mean the Gulf nation states? Does that mean Xi Jinping? Who does Trump trust? Where is he getting the information that is leading him to make these decisions? Or is it all just a giant blackmail campaign? And that's why every time he hesitates on Iran, a new Epstein story about Trump drops. But we'll get back to that in a second. Now, you have to say, it's pretty wild. By the way, this war was never a promise from Trump. No new wars was the promise from Trump. But you have all of the Israeli lobby and all of the Zionists. This is this big Iranian Zionist who gets pushed. You know, everybody's got to see the Iranian Zionist here. Well, they're all pissed at Trump, and they're saying he's weak for not whatever they want, you know, overthrowing Iran, killing more people in Iran. It's just, you're always weak. If you're not willing to just kill innocent people, the Zionists view you as weak. That's what it is. If you're not willing to kill innocent women and children, the Israeli lobby and the Zionists view you as weak. And so because Trump doesn't like killing innocent women and children, and unfortunately, he's been associated with that because of this war, but he doesn't like it. So every time Trump tries to stop the bombs from dropping, every time Trump tries to preserve innocent life in the Middle East, all of the Zionists call him weak, because they view you weak if you're not willing to kill innocent men, women, and children for your political agenda, for your country, for your ethno-nationalist nation state. They view you as weak. And I find it funny. They say, oh, Lebanon, why are we bringing Lebanon into this? Trump shouldn't be dictating the terms of what's going on between Israel and Lebanon. That's a foreign country. Oh, no kidding. Tell me, what else in this conversation is a foreign country to the United States of America? Because it's hilarious. All of a sudden, you want us to not talk about Lebanon and not address Lebanon and leave Lebanon out of this conversation. It's none of your business what's going on in Lebanon. But, oh, Israel's interest, though, that's all our business. That's all our interest. Oh, I see. I see the double standards coming out here. Oh, the American people aren't allowed to address Lebanon. The American people need to let Israel handle Lebanon as Israel sees fit. You stay out of this, Americans. That's a foreign country. Oh, no kidding. Why don't we treat Israel that way? That's a foreign country too. And now you're kind of starting to see this conversation, because this has been a disaster. And even people that might be anti-war, it's not one of their biggest issues. And they've been around long enough, and you know they've seen enough propaganda that makes them kind of normalize America being in the Middle East their entire lives, these never-ending wars. But even that mind has said, hey, we just, you know what? I'm not anti-Israel, or I don't have any interest. We want out. Let Israel do whatever it wants in the Middle East. Let it have its way. I want nothing to do with it. Just get us out of there. And that's becoming kind of the neutral stand. So it's like support for Israel is dwindling down. I mean, it's so small here in the United States of America. That's why it's so obnoxious whenever you see the pro-Israel people, whenever you see the Israeli loyalists, whenever you see the foreign loyalists, it's so obnoxious now because it's never been a less popular issue. But they can't help themselves. They're mad. They're mad at Trump. He stopped Israel from killing more people in Lebanon, and that angers them. So apparently there's this phone call. Trump said to yell at Netanyahu, "You're effing crazy. You'd be in prison if not for me." Phone call about Lebanon, said to see furious U.S. President steamroll PM and accuse him of ingratitude, saying, "I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." Source in PM office downplays severity of call. Now, what's interesting is it's like everything he says here is true. Axios's Barak Ravid cited a U.S. official who summarized Trump's message to Netanyahu as follows, quote, "You're fucking crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." Now, that is all true. So I'm thinking, it wouldn't put it past me if the Trump White House planted some story in the media to make it look like Trump was trying to stand up to Netanyahu or even did stand up to Netanyahu, like he's in charge. I wouldn't put it past the White House to present some propaganda like that to the American people to kind of silence these voices that'll say Bibi is in charge. But yet, I feel like if that's what they were going to do, I mean, this is a pretty undeniably direct and true statement to be giving to the press to accomplish that goal. And it does sound like something Trump would say in a moment like this. Now, for those that will say it's pure propaganda, let's not forget that a similar story happened during the Biden administration. Bad effing guy. Description hangs over Biden Netanyahu phone call. So this was back in October of 2024. Apparently a phone call between Biden and Netanyahu didn't go well. Biden insulted Netanyahu, called him a bad guy, a son of a bitch. So these stories have been out there before, so you have to wonder if it's not pure propaganda. But then you look at what Trump allegedly said. It's like, man, to print that, to put that in the media, which is true, boy, that's really aggressive if they planted that story. Wouldn't put it past them. And yet that's quite a statement to ask them to print. Okay, so here we go. So Trump finally puts the boot down on Israel and says, stop killing people, stop going into Lebanon. You violated what we agreed to in the Golan Heights. You violated what we agreed to in the West Bank. Now you're violating what we agreed to in Lebanon. I'm saving your ass here. I'm likely saving your country and your people and maybe even you from going to prison for life, Netanyahu. This war has been a disaster. All the intelligence you've given me has been wrong. This is embarrassing. So no, we're not doing it. I'm going to negotiate with Iran. I'm going to try to do this diplomatically again. You deal with it by yourself if you want to go to war. I'm out. I'm calling Iran. We're going to look for a diplomatic ceasefire and a peace deal. And you need to call off this latest attack that you had about to go down in Lebanon. So, okay, Trump is now trying to look for peace in the Middle East. Trump is trying to negotiate with Iran. And Trump tells Israel, how dare he, the ultimate sin. The most evil thing you can do today in American politics Trump asks Israel to stop killing innocent people. I mean, just the worst thing you can possibly do in American politics is ask the insane, psychotic, bloodlusting Netanyahu regime to just pause killing innocent people just for 24 hours. It's so hard. But God forbid Trump did it. Trump did the unthinkable. Trump did the one thing you're not allowed to do in American politics. And so, here come the Trump Epstein stories. Oh, what do you know? What do you know? Just hours later, Melania named in bombshell new Epstein claims. Allegations by a former Brazilian model contradict the First Lady's claims. Former Brazilian model Amanda Ungaro dropped the bombshell allegation on a taped recording accusing her ex-partner, modeling agent turned president envoy Paolo Zampoli, of lying about introducing Melania and Donald Trump at a party in 1998. Now, keep in mind, this is the same Zampoli that it is believed, wink, wink, nod, nod, asked Trump to deport his girlfriend back to Brazil because he didn't want her in the country anymore. This is that girl. So this is the girl that it would appear Paolo Zampoli had the Trump administration get out of the country, deport out of the country because he didn't want her here anymore. And he had some other stuff going on with her. Oh, and now here she is saying, no, Melania was introduced to Trump by Epstein, and she used to work in that sex trade. So, Trump tries to stop the war in the Middle East. Trump tries to negotiate peace with Iran. Trump is stopping Israel from killing more people in Lebanon. And all of a sudden, here come the Epstein stories again. Just amazing how every single time it was Jeffrey Epstein who introduced Melania to Trump. Ex-model claims ex-modeling agent Paolo Zamponi has long maintained that he introduced Melania and Trump. And now this ex-model, deported now by the Trump administration, is saying, not so fast. Here's the quote. Let's tell the public you never was the one introducing Melania to Trump. It was Jeffrey Epstein, as she was an escort of Jeffrey Epstein. That's how she met Donald Trump. And I know because I was with you for 20 years and you always told me it was not you, it was Epstein. Ungaro claims in the video, which the New Times has not independently verified. Oh, well, the New Times, the Daily Beast, Yahoo News. Former associate alleges Melania Trump worked with Jeffrey Epstein as escort. And it's all over the news today. Every single time. And my philosophy here, and maybe as the show grows, we can start to add some other tentacles. But my philosophy here is I just move forward. I don't really do too much thinking about the past or archiving the past. But I mean, you can go back to last spring when this whole back and forth about Israel, Iran, and Trump getting us involved, when all of this began, every time Trump was trying to find a diplomatic way out, every time Trump was trying to avoid a military intervention, there would be a story that hits the media that or the next day about Trump and Epstein. So remember, all of those stories, the letters back and forth from Trump and Epstein with the signs, the drawings, the journal entries, all of this different stuff, all of those stories dropped the day after Trump tried to stop military intervention in Iran. Every single one of the stories. And now, same thing. June 1st, Trump tries to stop more military intervention with Iran. June 2nd, Melania Trump was introduced by Jeffrey Epstein to Trump. Every single time. And so what next? So now it's war again because Trump doesn't want headlines about Melania being an escort for Epstein. Is that how this works? Is that the game we're playing here? Because we're all kind of sick of it. Can't even get a consistent story. Trump and Rubio say talks with Tehran ongoing despite Iranian media claims otherwise. So it's like you don't even know. Who do you even trust? No one. You don't trust Netanyahu. You don't trust Trump. You don't trust Iran. Apparently, Pakistan, who's trying to broker these deals, is reaching out to intelligence connections or whatever is like remaining of these fossils that actually try to stop America from getting deceived. You know, fossils of the old intelligence community that are basically kind of relegated to the new media world, but they're actually trying to get real intelligence to Trump. These are people that are actually trying to get real intelligence to the people to stop the next false flag or the next, invasion over propaganda. But apparently Pakistan is trying to get, Pakistan is like red alert on these negotiations. It's not going well. By the way, they kept this one pretty quiet. Got to tell you. 2 U.S. jets downed by Iranian fire. Search and rescue mission underway for 1 crew member. 2 Black Hawk helicopters also struck by incoming fire. Iran may have used Chinese missile to shoot down U.S. fighter jets. Sources say they couldn't believe this jet was shot down, the F-15. So they think it might have been Chinese missile technology that did it. The pilot has been shot down twice. U.S. F-15E pilot shot down above Iran had survived earlier downing twice in the same war now. These are not cheap jets, by the way. I think the cost of this war, and this is just the dollars that we're paying to fight it, it's got to be close to $100 billion. They're saying, it's like 29 billion. Bull crap. I don't believe that for 1 second. When this number, we probably won't know for years. And who knows, the war could go on for years. But whenever it comes out with the actual cost of this war, it's going to be close to 100 bill. Absolutely. Absolutely. But they'll come out and say, maybe 30 billion, maybe 40, 50 billion. It's like, yeah, okay, 50 billion. And then years later when they're actually tabulating, they'll be, that war actually cost about 120 billion. I know. You guys can't really afford health care or, to send your kids to a nice school or anything like that. You broke Americans, but don't worry. We got money for another foreign war for the donor class. Unlimited money. Unlimited money for them, obviously. Don't you know? Don't you guys get it? And maybe you can one day have your own island. Ivanka Trump announces she and Jared are developing a private island off of the coast of Albania. This stuff is just getting weird. In that interview, I don't know. Ivanka just seems, I don't know. It's just weird. That's all I can really say. Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner's island resort project under scrutiny. And apparently some local groups in Albania are going to be protesting this. Albanians protest Kushner plan for Sazan Island luxury resort. Man, maybe if you guys would just work harder, you could have an island. You peasants. Maybe if you would just eat your 99-cent sandwich, maybe if you would just stop drinking your coffee to go, maybe you could have your own island. Okay? Maybe if you would just start to support some of the right foreign policies, you could be rich. If you would start praising the right foreign country, you would be blessed by God with all kinds of treasures. You know, because that's what they're telling us. That's all you need to do.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
Folks, have you tried Crash Out Energy yet? The official energy drink of the Owen Report. Let me tell you why I made Crash Out Energy. For years, since I've been on air, I've been taking some form of a mixture of nootropic supplements and energy drinks. So I'd be taking 4 to 5 nootropic pills for mental focus, clarity, energy, stuff like that. And then I'd be drinking an energy drink. And I'd been doing it for so many years. I kind of found the perfect formula for me to have the right amount of energy and focus and clarity to do a 3-hour show. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, why am I'm taking 4 different supplements. I'm drinking an energy drink. I don't want the toxic ingredients from the energy drink, but I want the energy, and then I want the focus and the mental benefits from the nootropics. I said, why don't I just put all of this into one energy supplement? Why wouldn't I just do that? And so that's what I did. That's crashout.energy. Now, quickly, for those that want to know how this works exactly, it has a quick release of raw caffeine, and then the rest of the caffeine comes from the natural ingredients inside of the energy drink. And so you get a bit of a quick burst, and then you have a long, smooth energy focus for hours. That's why I take it before I go on air. But this thing is so versatile. It can be used as an energy drink. It can be used as a focus drink. It could be used as a pre-workout. Just look at the great ingredients there listed at crashout.energy. It's the official energy drink of the Owen Report. It's my own creation. I think you'll find that you like it, especially if you drink energy drinks and you don't want those toxic ingredients. You're sick of going to the grocery store and getting the cans and everything else. Just go to crashout.energy. Try one canister. I believe you're going to love it. Replace those toxic energy drinks with the good stuff in crashout.energy.
lawyer.
All right. I really didn't want to cover this. It was in the news yesterday, and I skipped over it. The only reason why I'm covering it now because there's been a juxtaposition in the story. The annual Israel parade in New York City happened over the weekend, and I wasn't even going to cover it. It's just like whatever, in one door, out the other. And then I saw today, Mamdani is getting attacked. Now, he skipped the parade. He skipped the annual Israel parade. And oh my gosh, you'd think he kicked a puppy. You'd think that Mamdani came out here and put a grandma in a chokehold because he skipped the Israel Day parade. My goodness. My goodness gracious. The worst offense, really, is not supporting Israel as the most important country on earth, not supporting Israel as your own, not supporting Israel as your master. It's the worst offense you can do in American politics. So here come the attacks on Mamdani today for not attending the Israel Day parade. And again, I might have just passed it off. I might have just said, oh, whatever, just more political commentary. Oh, Mamdani's bad. We need a story, right? We need a story. He didn't go to the parade. My goodness. It's like, oh, okay. And then there was this from Randy Fine. And this one put me over the top. From Randy Fine. The barbarians are inside the gates. And he has a picture of the Twin Towers on 9/11 next to Mamdani. So that was it. I said, okay, fine. If this is where we're going to go, I'll go there. And maybe it's worth saying for if you're a new listener, new audience of the Owen Report here, or you're just finding my work and you like it, you need to know that part of my instincts here as a broadcaster, part of my instincts here in politics is to counter propaganda. So it doesn't matter what direction it's coming from, where it's coming from, the who, the what, the where, the when, the why. My instinct here, my drive here is to counter propaganda no matter what. So this is just so heavy with propaganda. That's why I felt I had to cover it. Otherwise, I would have ignored the Israel Day parade. It's too much. So what are we thinking about September 11th? Because to me, and I always predicted this, and I've been saying it for years, the foreign policy discussion is eventually going to get back to 9/11 because eventually the Israeli lobby and eventually the Israeli loyalists like Randy Fine, they're going to run out of ground. There's not going to be much political ground left for them to stand on, except it's going to be hate Muslims because of 9/11. Ultimately, the Israeli lobby and the Israeli loyalists involved in American politics will all eventually be isolated on the island of, but Muslims are bad, 9/11. That's the only ground they're going to be relegated to in a very short period of time. And that's why it's always been important to me to talk about how we were lied to about 9/11. But I don't want to get into that. Let's address what Randy Fine is saying here. So he says the barbarians are in the gates because Mamdani is Muslim and Muslims did 9/11. The barbarians are inside the gates, he says. And of course, the only reason that Randy Fine is really electing to attack Mamdani today is because he skipped the Israel Day parade. Now, for those taking notes at home, because this might be confusing to you, but to those taking notes at home, Israel is a foreign country. So keep that in mind. Jot that down in your notebook here. Israel is a foreign country. Mamdani is the mayor of New York City, a city in the state of New York, in the country of the United States of America. So Mamdani is an American who serves the American city of New York. So if he doesn't want to attend a country for a parade for a foreign country, shouldn't be that controversial, but for some reason it is because it's Israel. But that is a foreign country. So that's why Randy Fine is attacking him. But who are the barbarians? And this is where they really run into the issue. This is where the Israeli lobby and the Israeli loyalists run into the issue. It was a lot easier to trick and deceive people 20 years ago. And if you want to get specific when it comes to Muslims and Jews here, and the Jews have always had the leverage in Western media. The Jews have always had the edge in Western media. And you could successfully argue that the Jews have convinced most Westerners that Muslims are the most evil force in the world and they want you to die just because you're not Muslim. Now, you might believe that, you might not. But the point is, that has been a successful campaign that the Israeli lobby has waged against the American people through American politics and through the American media. Now, it's a lot easier to convince Americans of this before the age of social media. So it's a lot easier to say, oh, the barbarians are inside of the gates, and you just, oh, that's Muslims, that's 9/11. It's a lot easier to get away with that. But now that we have social media, and there's X, and there's TikTok, and those are the main two factors, but there's all kinds of different outlets now. And notice what happened with X and what happened with TikTok, the two main platforms where Israel's actions in Palestine and Lebanon were being recorded and broadcasted and published. Notice how the Israeli lobby has done everything they possibly can to get access to control and censor those two platforms. So now, when Israeli loyalists like Randy Fine say the barbarians are inside of the gates, unfortunately, that doesn't just stick to Muslims now. Anybody that promotes Israel is now viewed as even more of a barbarian than Muslims. And if you don't believe the official narrative of 9/11, then there's really no comparison at all. There's none. And so this is where they're running into an issue. They're running into an issue because people don't believe the official narrative of 9/11. And they're running into an issue because we've all watched what Israel has done in the last couple of years in Palestine and in Lebanon, and really all over the world, but specifically in those two regions with the killing of hundreds of thousands of innocent people, including women and children. So it doesn't really work now when the Israel side of the table points the finger at Muslim and says, you're barbarians. The Muslims are the barbarians. Iranians are the barbarians. These are all barbarians. Well, you guys are barbarians. Everybody's watching your barbaric behavior, and it's being highlighted and broadcasted to the world unlike anything we've ever seen. And so there's this disconnect where they still think that their anti-Islam propaganda has a control over the hearts and minds of Americans. It doesn't anymore. They're still under the impression that you are completely brainwashed and convinced that every Muslim wants you dead because you're not Muslim. That doesn't work anymore. And even if there's plenty of Americans out there that want nothing to do with Islam and they don't want Islam here, telling them that, hey, they're barbarians and you're waving an Israeli flag, ooh, sorry, you look like the bigger barbarian there. That's one barbarian calling another a barbarian. That doesn't affect us anymore. So this is their big disconnect. We don't trust the official narrative of 9/11, and we've all watched the behavior, the barbaric behavior of Israel for the last couple of years. These things don't work on us anymore. And here's where it gets obnoxious. So you have this Israel Day parade in New York City. It's been going on forever, whatever. But they run around and they wave Israeli flags and they're all dancing around. This is our country. This is America. And yeah, you know what? I'll go ahead and say it because this is how people feel about it. This is the most arrogant and entitled and, quite frankly, conquering display we've ever seen. And they say, oh, this is Jews, and they're running around. What does this have to do with Jewish faith? This is all about a foreign country. This is all about a foreign country. That's all this is. You're running around waving foreign flags, arrogantly and entitled, declaring your conquering of the United States of America, declaring how you have occupied the United States of America. And then you use Jew as your political body shield, as if, oh, this is just for Jews. But no, you make it about Israel. You're the ones with the foreign flag dancing in our streets, bragging about your occupation, rubbing it in America's face. So we're all sitting here watching Israel drag us back into another war in the Middle East. We're all sitting here watching Israel and the Israeli lobby control our foreign policy, control our government, control our media. We're all watching all these different Israeli groups come in here and say, we're going to censor the internet. We're going to make it a crime to say anything bad about Israel. So we're all watching all of this happen. And then here they come and they're waving Israeli flags on the streets of New York like they've conquered us. And they're dancing and rubbing our nose in it. Yes, that's how this is interpreted. Yes, that's the presentation here. This is a display of arrogance. This is and that's why it's so ironic. And they say, Muslims want to conquer you. Muslims are a conquering force. Muslims are occupying you. Well, maybe that's true. But actually, the more dominant conquering force here is Israel. So if you're going to have a problem with Muslims on the streets doing Muslim things, then why can't I have a problem with Israelis on the streets doing Israeli things? Both of them are foreign to my country. Both of them are foreign to the United States, and that is literally a foreign flag. A foreign flag of now the least popular foreign country in the current political atmosphere. So yeah, this level of arrogance and entitlement is a form of dominance and conquering us, and we don't like it. And you guys are the ones that use innocent Jews as a body shield. You guys are the ones that use innocent Jews as a political body shield so that when you're out here as an occupying, conquering force of a foreign country for Israel, all on display here, you fall back on, oh, it's Jews, innocent Jews. Oh, it's Jews. We're always the victim. You hate Jews. No, Israel is a foreign country. It is a conquering force over my country. And you're out on the streets bragging and dancing about how your country has conquered my country, waving a foreign flag around. And you think you can just say, oh, Jew, and I'm not allowed to say anything about it? Nope. And I'll tell you this, because this is how it's going to go. It's not up to me, by the way. I just do political play-by-play. This is how it's going to go in this country. All that hatred that you have stewed up against Muslims here, all of that hatred and all of that vitriol and all of the calls to have every Muslim banned from the country and deported from the country, I'm going to tell you this right now. That's all going to come back on you. You are going to receive all of that treatment. All of the treatment that you have tried to wage against Muslims through the United States of America, all the hatred that you have tried to cultivate against Muslims by the American people, all of that will be aimed at you when this is all said and done. It will all be weighed at you. Again, this is not up to me. This is just political play-by-play. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. That's how this is going to go down. This environment that you have created in American politics and in American media to hate Muslims And for us to view Muslims with prayer rugs and doing everything in the streets that they do, which is foreign to our country, all of that hate and disgust that you're trying to manifest against those Muslims to the point where they're deported, that will all happen to you. That will happen to you. Call it cosmic karma. Call it God's justice. That's how this is going to go. And you're just going to sit there stunned by it all. And it's like, how could you be so surprised? You guys tried to buy out our media. You guys tried to buy out our government. Then you denied you were doing it as you were waving around and dancing around as a conquering force in my country with your foreign flag. Don't be so surprised when you get the very treatment that you're trying to convince us to treat Muslims with. Do not be surprised. I am not calling for this. I don't have anything to do with this. I'm telling you that's what's going to happen. This is just political play-by-play. That's what's going to happen. And if you think parading around the streets of New York City, waving Israeli flags, a foreign country's flags, in Americans' faces, as we're all watching Israel engage in the most evil most of us have ever seen in our lives, being broadcast for the entire planet to witness, yeah, I'm sorry. That's a bad look. And there's a reason why you're less popular in America than you've ever been. And there's a reason why Israel's approval ratings are tanking faster than a rock at the bottom of the ocean. That's just the truth. But hey, don't worry, guys, because the ADL was there. The ADL was there to remind you that they too stand with Israel. It's the radical left and the radical right, both fighting against America for Israel's interests.
It's so exciting to be here at this 66th annual Israel Day Parade. The energy is incredible. We're about to start marching, and it's remarkable. Almost every elected official in the city and the state of any consequence is here, except for one. I think you know who that is. But I'm proud to march with so.
You know what? Say what you want about Mamdani. And don't take anything I haven't said here and act like I've said it. Listen to what I'm saying, not what I'm not saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Say what you want about Mamdani. He didn't march for a foreign country in ours. Mamdani didn't march for a foreign country in the streets of New York City like you did, Jonathan Greenblatt. Again, listen to what I'm saying, not what I'm not saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Mamdani is not the one that marched through the streets of New York with a foreign flag. Jonathan Greenblatt is. That's all. You might even argue that that makes Mamdani a bigger patriot than you. That makes Mamdani a better American than you, because he didn't show loyalty to a foreign country like so many others did in New York City. Or as Greenblatt put it, all of the big political figures are here for the foreign country except Mamdani. Well, I guess that makes him a bigger patriot than all of them then, doesn't it? But if you want to know the reality, if you want to know why this is so serious, all you have to do is listen to their own words, folks. Listen to their own words when they talk about censorship, and listen to their own words when they talk about how they want to deal with anybody that's in their way. They say it in plain words. Smotrich.
ראינו את זה ב7 לאוקטובר, אם חס וחלילה לא תהיה שם נוכחות יהודית, תהיה שם נוכחות של האויב, אם האויב יהיה שם, הטנדרים מאוד מהר שועטים אל ריכוזי האוכלוסייה במדינת ישראל, ואכן, אני בקדנציה הזאת מנצח את תפקידי במשרד הביטחון על המשימה של להרוג את אותו רעיון נורא של חלוקת הארץ ומסירת שטחים, אותו רעיון של הקמת מדינת טרור בלב ליבה של ארץ ישראל. המשמעות של זה, אנשים צריכים להבין את זה, זה להכפיל את עזה פי 20, זה בערך הגודל, ולשים אותה על השטח ששולט גיאוגרפית וטופוגרפית על כל ריכוזי האוכלוסייה במדינת ישראל. ושוב, זה או אנחנו או הם, אין פה באמצע. אנחנו הורגים את הרעיון הזה. 103 יישובים, 160 חוות אלקטרוניים מיליון.
So he's saying it's either us or them. Now, folks, you have to understand this psychology and why it's so dangerous and why Israel is on a killing spree right now. You have to understand the psychology, that it's either us or them psychology. You understand that in that psychological paradigm, everyone else dies. That's the suicide bomber mentality. That's literally kamikaze suicide bomber psychology. It's either us or them, and if it's going to be us, you're going with us. And that's how they act as a country. That's how they act as a military. That's why they're attacking 7 different countries right now. That's why they're killing hundreds of thousands of innocent people right now in this killing campaign. Because in their eyes, it's either us or everyone else dies. That's why they have the sanction option. That's why they just can't stop this war. And I think that they have deceived themselves, and it's all trauma-based mind control. They've deceived themselves that there's a Hitler lurking around every corner, that there's a Muslim suicide bomber lurking around every corner. And because now this means that every white person is the next Hitler or every Muslim is the next suicide bomber, now you understand why they can't stop. Now you understand why they're acting like paranoid schizophrenics. Now you understand why they're acting like psychotic, bloodthirsty maniacs. Because they're in a state of trauma-based mind control where every white person could be Hitler, every Muslim could be a suicide bomber, and therefore they don't have time for defense. It's just offense 24/7, and anytime we can't go on the offense, we're going to create a perpetual system of defense called the AI surveillance state nationwide, and we're going to turn every country into a giant missile defense silo, because eventually we're going to kill so many people and anger so many people that you're probably going to get attacked too. So we need to have a missile defense system for when inevitably all the people that we've killed want to attack us back. And now this is why our country is being turned into that exact same state of affairs. And you just saw the psychology from Israel's Minister of Defense. It's either us or them. That's nation against nation kamikaze warfare. That's nation against nation suicide bomber. Israel is the nation with a nuclear suicide vest wrapped around its country's waist saying, we'll blow this whole planet up. And that's why it seems they have the world hostage. All right. Well, I think that's most of the heavy stuff for today. Speaking of the AI, though, powerful AI is making facial recognition better at identifying you. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's on your phone, the street cameras. They have these deals now. You go to these sporting events, they take like this high-resolution photo. It can do facial recognition technology of everyone in the stadium with one picture. And apparently they're bringing aspects of this to the World Cup. Now, you might have seen a video where we're going to be using these robot dogs to do this. Well, they are saying that is not the case. There will be robot dogs. You might see robot dogs if you go to the World Cup for security purposes, but they are saying, and Boston Dynamics is weighing in here, it's their dogs. Boston Dynamics is saying this is not, the only thing these are being used for is security. There's no facial recognition involved. There's no data harvesting involved. They're just there for security purposes. But apparently you're going to be seeing these robot dogs as security at the World Cup. We are speeding into this new world order, aren't we? Amazon Ring sued over facial recognition. Amazon was sued Monday by a Virginia man over allegations that facial recognition software in the company's Ring doorbell cameras collected and stored images of his face without his consent. How often do you think that happens today to everybody? But that's why they're building the AI surveillance state. And eventually they'll just write a law and privacy will be dead, and the Bill of Rights, they'll just declare null and void. But that's what happens when foreigners run your government. Get it? Russia unveils Alt-AI, neuromorphic chip to challenge U.S. in low-power AI and defense applications. So I was explaining the other day how the real advancements in AI, once they have their conceived model and infrastructure, then it's going to be all about scale. And it seems Russia is kind of focusing on scale first. It's like the Western AI tech companies kind of merged with the Asian AI tech companies. They're all going for, like, we need to advance the technology as far as possible and build the infrastructure. Then we'll think about scale. Russia is over here thinking about, let's scale this technology down and condense it as much as we can before we start to roll it out. So it looks like they're kind of taking a different track in Russia dealing with AI than we're seeing in the United States. What do you know about smart bathrooms? You ever seen a smart bathroom? You ever heard of one? Seattle's new smart public bathrooms arrive in Pioneer Square for a 1-year pilot program. The 4 public bathrooms were installed ahead of the World Cup and are primarily designed to be opened with your smartphone. Well, the World Cup is still some couple of days away, so they put them out a little too early. How do you think it went, guys? How do you think smart bathrooms in Seattle went? Well, it didn't take long. It took a week before they were broken into and the glass shattered and, homeless and drug addicts going in there to use and abuse the public restrooms. And so now you may no longer have those if you're at the World Cup. They may not be able to have those. Now, I think what they were trying to do, you might have seen these videos before. I think they're in Japan, maybe South Korea. By the way, what is it with Japan? What is it with South Korea? Even some of these European countries, why are they so more advanced than us when it comes to plumbing and toilets specifically? I mean, they've got these toilets in Japan and South Korea, folks. You push one button, it creates like a mist, starts to warm. Music starts playing. There's a little fairy that flies out with a wand and it cleans you. You don't even know, but the whole thing is done. The whole process is done. The toilet takes care of everything. Whoa. And then it like gives you a little breath mint before you go on your merry way. Europe has the bidets. What are we doing? What are we doing with toilet technology here? Why can't I get a Japanese toilet that I don't even, I'm like, I sit down and then I like black out for like a minute or two and oh, it's like, you're all done, Mr. Schroyer. And ding, would you like a breath mint? Oh, yeah. Wow. Or the bidets, I don't want to go into the detail, but I mean, I feel like we could be advancing here. No, but they have these toilets. I think it was South Korea or Japan. It might have been Europe. They have these public toilets. You can't do it in America. That's the problem. It just, our country is a third world country now. So you can't even have public bathrooms anymore. Unfortunately, that's the cost of not having a high trust society, an invasion, a corrupt government, and everything else. So we're in a third world country now. We can't even have public toilets. Yeah, we can't even have public toilets. I can't remember where it was. They have these public toilets that are like self-washing. It's the craziest thing. So it looked a lot like those smart toilets in Seattle, but you go in there, you use the toilet, and then it goes back, like the toilet is on a rail, and it goes back into like the box that it's in. And then the whole unit gets sprayed down. And it's like a fully cleaning automated toilet system. The toilet cleans itself. The entire bathroom cleans itself. It just turns on. The whole thing cleans itself. And we can't have nice things. We can't have nice things in this country because everything gets destroyed because we live in a third world status country. We live in a declining country now. When was the last time you went to a public bathroom at like a park or something and it wasn't just totally disgusting? A ball game, a concert is one thing. Okay. It's like you can't even go to a public bathroom at a park or something. It's like it's gross. It stinks. It doesn't look like it's been cleaned in years. We can't have nice things. All right. Tonight, not seeing anything on this. Some primaries tonight. The California election is going to be getting the most attention. LA mayor, California governor, the top two will advance. I think Spencer Pratt is pretty much shoo-in to advance. He's getting a lot of celebrity support. I do think that boosts his chances against Karen Bass. I think you'll get a pretty good idea after tonight. The governor's race is going to be interesting. Can Steve Hilton squeeze through? You've got Steyer and Becerra, the two Democrats that are kind of leading the charge. Katie Porter is in there as well. I don't think that's a serious contender. I'd like to see, I wish Chad Bianco would have gotten the attention. I wish the Republican Party would have gotten behind Chad Bianco, a local sheriff. That would have made more sense. Stephen Hilton, I mean, California, you've had Arnold Schwarzenegger before, but Stephen Hilton, he's a foreigner. He's a pro-censorship conservative. Stephen Hilton celebrated internet censorship in 2018. I'll never forget it. So Stephen Hilton is pro-censorship, so I don't like that. So we'll see if he can squeeze through. The one results that not many people are going to be talking about, because this stuff is going to impact the general. Iowa is going to be interesting. Iowa's going to be interesting. The Democrats are really looking at Iowa, and they're really looking at Maine. Yeah, there's no results coming out yet. 5:40 Eastern, 4:40 Central. The Democrats think that they can flip that Iowa seat in the Senate. The results tonight are going to be interesting. That could be a serious flip in the Senate that not too many people are thinking about in Iowa. I'm going to be looking at those numbers tomorrow, but big primary night tonight. Big primary night tonight. Ben Shapiro, the fall of Ben Shapiro. A headline on MSN today. Just a few years ago, Ben Shapiro was the defining voice of right-wing media. Well, I don't think that was ever true, but he was certainly a recognizable name and voice, but that's because he talks like this, and so it's a recognizable voice just because it's so annoying. His podcast sat near the top of the charts. Posts from Daily Wire, media company, routinely dominated the competition on Facebook. Well, yeah, Ben Shapiro was allowed to exist when other conservatives were all being censored, so that helped him in that short run. All that feels like a distant memory now. Shapiro's social media traffic has collapsed, as the Washington Post's Drew Harwell recently reported. And then it goes on to the Daily Wire issues and everything else. Well, here's what happened with that. Shapiro postured himself as the big American right-wing conservative. He's the right-wing conservative, pro-America. And now we're just at a point in time where Shapiro has been outed himself, or the perception is he's just an Israeli operative. He's just an Israeli operative. He runs for Israeli interests. The whole right-wing conservative American patriot thing was just an act to keep the right wing on the platform of Zionism and pro-Israel. So when you posture yourself as an American right-wing conservative patriot, and then you end up just being a foreign loyalist, yeah, you lose your audience. Probably easily predictable. Now, apparently, Barry Weiss is having a similar issue. Turmoil at CBS News as insiders ponder what happens to Scott Pelley, Nick Bilton, and Barry Weiss next. Now, I will tell you, it's going to be the interpretation when you see these stories that are going to continue to develop over the years is going to be that CBS, the people that were there before Weiss, are frustrated because the direction is Weiss is taking it politically in regards to foreign policy and specifically Israel. My interpretation is they're more upset because Barry Weiss is running a bit of a cover operation for the Trump administration. And so some of these reporters that have been at 60 Minutes for years, they're trying to do pieces on the Trump administration, like maybe most famously last year, CBS wanted to run one on some immigration camps, and Barry Weiss shut it down. So I believe there's at least two stories that have been confirmed in media reports that Barry Weiss had shut down that would have been negative about the Trump administration. So when you see these stories, it's kind of, obviously Barry Weiss seems to be a product of the Israeli lobby here, taking over CBS with the Larry Ellison money takeover. But it seems to me this is more about Trump. It seems to me the people working there are not as concerned about the direction it's going with regards to Israel. They're more concerned about the direction it's going, where they want to be able to report things about the Trump administration that they're being told not to. And I think this, I don't think we've heard, I don't think this is the end. I mean, you've seen stories like this pop up every once in a while since Barry Weiss has gotten her role there. But I think the frustration is starting to mount behind the scenes. And, there's a new factor. There's a new factor here, which is, it used to be, if you're somebody like Scott Pelley, and I don't know if this would work for Scott, actually, I probably wouldn't bet on it. But if you're a guy like Scott Pelley, it used to be, whatever, you take yourself seriously, you're an accomplished journalist, you've been at CBS for years, 60 Minutes, the standard of Sunday night news, hard-hitting journalism. And so you kind of carry yourself like, no, you belong. It's like, this is your platform. Well, now in the new media landscape, that doesn't anchor you to a network like it once did. Now, if you want to take a political stand or whatever stand inside of a media company, there is a safety net of going independent, unlike there has been before. Now, again, I don't know if that works for Scott Pelley. I'm just using Scott as an example. It could be anybody at 60 Minutes or at any of these networks. What we've learned is, no, there are not everybody that has a big name and face in national news can actually make it independently. Look at Bill O'Reilly. Look at Chris Wallace. We'll see what happens with some of these CBS people if they decide to take a stand and leave. I don't know if Scott Pelley could make it on his own without 60 Minutes. Probably not. Not that he needs the money anyway. He could retire. But network anchors and network reporters taking a stand against the network is a much more viable option now that you can go independent and potentially make it. So it's like you could be a success story like Tucker Carlson. You could be a not so much of a success story like Bill O'Reilly. You could be a complete and utter failure like Chris Wallace. But the options to do it, it's not like before where it's like, if you're not at 60 Minutes, well, where else can you go? There's only so limited roster spots out there in network media. You sacrifice your job here, you might not have a job somewhere else. So that has changed. So I'm expecting we're going to hear more about this, what's going on at 60 Minutes. I don't know if we're going to see an all-out mutiny against Barry Weiss, but I think you're going to start to hear more grumblings, especially now. Yeah, it's such an inversion now because when they were dying to do the anti-Trump stuff before, it was like total propaganda and it would flop. And yet that was the driving factor was, for political reasons, let's do the anti-Trump stuff. Now there's legitimate coverage there. Now there's legitimate reason to have Trump coverage that would be perceived as negative, but there's legitimate stuff there now, and now they can't even do it. How ironic is that? So 60 Minutes was attacking Trump illegitimately most of the time for the last 8 years. Now there's legitimate attacks on Trump, and now they're not even allowed to do it. I find that to be pretty hilarious, actually. I will tell you. That's a funny one. Fake Southern California store concealed the entrance to a massive secret drug tunnel. Prosecutors say they found this tunnel from Mexico to San Diego in a neighborhood underneath a seemingly unassuming buy-for-less store in a San Diego County neighborhood. Hid a sprawling secret, a tunnel 55 feet deep and nearly 2,000 feet long that was used to smuggle some $45 million worth of cocaine from Mexico to California, prosecutors allege. Quite a hidden tunnel. I don't think I could do that. Underground drug smuggling tunnel discovered from Tijuana to San Diego. Could you do a tunnel like that? I might get a little too, I don't get claustrophobic, but I don't think I would take the risk in a tunnel like that. Like, you see these people that go caving? Are they nuts? Closest thing I would do, there's the City Museum in St. Louis where they have like a whole fake cave system that's actually pretty realistic. I couldn't do it. I went to the, what was it called? It was called like Diablo's Cave or the Devil's Ice Bath or something. I think it was called the Devil's Ice Cave or something. It was in Columbia, Missouri. And we had some friends that used to push the Devil's Ice Box. It was called the Devil's Ice Box. And we used to go there and hang out sometimes when I was in college. But there'd be parts, it was like, there were huge parts where you could go sit and hang out. There'd be a lot of people down there. I had a couple crazy friends that would, navigate through the water into the crevices. Can't do it. Can't do it. Could you do this? I don't think I could do this either, by the way. Nearly a mile long and 80,000 people on board. Welcome to the first floating city. Bigger than any vessel ever built. The proposed Freedom ship will have homes, schools, and a state-of-the-art hospital. This has Titanic written all over it. I can't do it. I couldn't do a cruise. Too much time away from land. Too many people that I can't get away from, that I probably don't want to be near. Plans for the floating city that would carry 80,000 people, dwarfing the finest cruise ships in the world. Here's some of the concepts here. Do you think they'll pull it off? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to pull it off. What would this thing cost? $16 billion. All right. Well, who's going to buy it? Look at this thing. So this is they have there's a port on the back of it where you can bring up your yacht. I don't think so. I can't even do a cruise ship. This would be it for me. I can't do it. Because they got soccer stadiums on this deal. It's the thing of the future, guys. Floating away, living at sea. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do that. Can't do the caving. Here's some of these other concept videos that they've published. The Freedom Cruise. I'll take my freedom from the cruise, actually. Thank you very much. Not interested. All right, let's do this. We have a guest coming up, Brandon Strock from Walk Away. Last week, it's actually 5 days ago now, they published the Boomers versus Millennials debate. And it got a lot of response. It needs more views on YouTube, but it did get a ton of response on the different social media platforms, especially X. The comments in YouTube are pretty good, I would say, if you go to the actual YouTube video. So Brandon is about to join us. We're going to talk about some of the fallout of that. We're going to tease what they have coming up now in next week, the next debate panel that we did. Let's air some of this for our break here. Let's see. Oh, he's got some teasers in there too. Oh, yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's air some of this. We're going to take our third break. I'm going to get Brandon Strzok connected from the Walkaway movement. And I know a lot of you guys, you can't, the music, not having the music for this break is going to kill you. Some of you are going to be upset because you can't complain about the music. But let's do this for a break. Let's go to a short clip from the Walkaway campaign and Brandon Strzok, the Great MAGA Divide, Baby Boomers versus Millennials. I was part of this panel. Brandon is coming up next. While I get him connected, why don't you enjoy this?
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
Before Hillary Clinton even popped up on the political
There was
radar.
a time when he was.
Of course.
We
And then
disappointed.
of course.
And what happened? That was the best example, actually.
And
of
yes, Libya is such a
dealing with
success
the
story
weapons
of
of
foreign
mass-
policy. Another success story.
Well, you can buy a
of foreign
slave
policy.
for $500 in Libya.
Owen, I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
So you're
Hillary-
admitting it's a failure.
When Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama took over the brief, it became a complete fiasco. Disarming Muammar Gaddafi and turning him into a guy who was relatively aligned with us
was a big mistake for
success.
him.
It was a bit.
But for him, it was a very stupid thing. He never should have
got
got
rid of the nuclear weapons, which everybody else has concluded they now need to have.
because of our actions. Because he agreed to get rid of nuclear weapons, and he ended up sodomized by his own people as a consequence.
I think we could go back and forth
Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama made that happen
for a while on this. But before we close out on this topic, I do want to ask you something, Frank, because you said something that I need clarification on, to say the least. Owen asked you if you think that they are anti-Semites, and you said you could be getting a vibe.
I'm getting a vibe.
Yeah, a vibe. So this concerns me because I got to be honest, in the course of this conversation, I have not heard anything that I would describe as hatred of Jews or Jew hatred. I've heard harsh criticism of the government of Israel. How are we able to criticize any foreign government, in this case, the government of Israel, if we're going to label it anti-Semitic or hatred of an entire group of people for criticizing their government?
I didn't label it.
Well,
I'm
asking the
to
question.
respond. I would say that in the present moment, in millennial circles and others, what we are increasingly seeing is people saying horrible things about the government of Israel because they can say that without directly saying horrible things about the people of Israel or the people that
You're like afraid to
How?
say the Jews.
But
It's weird. It's weird to say the Jews. It's
I'm afraid of what is the upshot of the kinds of critiques that I'm hearing here.
I know, but the word in the sentence you were just saying was
Jews is a word I'm perfectly comfortable saying.
Okay, good.
This is a question that is, I believe, part of an op. And I think Tucker Carlson has taken it to
Russia.
Frank, let me ask you a question. This
and it just let me just answer the question. I'm concerned that people who have concluded that the source of all of the problems in the world,
that's not what
our
we believe.
problems in particular, in the Middle East most especially, are because of the Jews, and who now don't say that, but who now say it's the government of Israel.
So that has not been
We're
expressed.
leaving
That has not been expressed once in this conversation.
What's not been expressed once?
That Jews are to blame for all of
you
our
haven't.
problems.
You're making the cutout.
So you're the one leaping to conclusions. You are, and this is what we've dealt with. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Is that how you feel?
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
It's
For
specifically
years,
not
for
what
years.
he said.
No, but hold
That's
on a second.
Specifically what he did not say.
Well, I'd say
Specifically what
the
he did
question
not
was,
say.
is there a way to talk about Israel without being anti-Semitic? And it sounds like the answer is no.
No, that's wrong.
Then what have we done here wrong?
I'm saying when you arrive at the conclusion that Israel is responsible for all of these horrible things that have happened to the United States, you did an entire riff about all of the treasure, all of the lives, all of the Middle East.
And it's all true.
It's not true.
It's not
I'm
true.
Saying that it
in
is
my
all
lifetime.
Israel's fault.
No. I didn't say that. I said they influence our foreign
government
policy.
of Israel is manipulating the United States.
That's just
ask you guys
obvious
directly?
fact. Hold on. Let me just say one thing. Let me just say one thing.
It is a debate.
Hold on a second. Okay, fair. Let me just say one thing. This is what we've dealt with from the left. It's funny that you want to say, oh, this is some leftist bent. This is what we deal with. You guys always do that.
I never said the word
This is what we
leftist.
did. This is what we
Wait a
deal with.
minute.
Whenever we
Wait a
talk
minute.
about
I
crime in
didn't say
America,
that
whenever we
once.
talk about recipients of welfare, they say, oh, that's racist. It's like, no, I'm making a general observation and having a debate. Now it's the same thing with Israel. Oh, you can't talk about Israel, you're an anti-Semite. Oh, you can't talk about crime rates, or you're a racist. That's the woke ideology that has killed this country's political debate. And that's the political correctness of why we can't get out of this phase, because people are so scared to say the truth.
Let me just ask you directly, right to your faces. When you criticize the government of Israel, is that in any way, shape, or form shorthand for a larger hatred or disdain of the Jewish people or Jews in general?
No.
Is there anything else behind it?
Well, I want to just answer this real quick. First of all, I have a Jewish grandfather. No, and I'm not even trying to be funny. I think that Jews, if I was like in a bad car accident and I went to the ER and I had a black doctor, a Mexican doctor, a Jewish doctor, I'd pick the Jewish doctor. So I do think Jews are good. I'm saying I like Jews. I just feel like I'm an American firster, and I don't like foreign countries dictating our foreign policy. So that's really where it comes from. It's no anti-Semitism whatsoever. But the one.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, so you just watched just a brief segment there from what is the first and what I hope will be many panel debates hosted by Brandon Strock of the Walk Away movement. He does have another one ready to be published next week, and that one is, I guess it's being billed as America First versus MAGA. It's kind of former MAGA versus current MAGA a little bit. A lot of similar topics, a little more passionate. That won't be published till next week, but you can watch the Boomers versus Millennials debate, which we just aired some of right now. And so joining me now is Brandon Strock. And well, hold on, Brandon. Let me make sure I don't have him. Are you getting an echo right now?
No, I'm not.
All right. I think it's just I'm picking up my own audio through your speaker.
Should I put on headphones?
Or just turn it down so your mic doesn't pick it up. You can do that too.
Is that any better?
Let's see. It's a little better. It won't be as distracting for me.
I can put on headphones.
Whatever you want. We've almost got it to a viable level here.
Okay.
I can barely hear it now. I'll leave it up to you.
Okay.
So here's the deal. That was the first panel debate that you hosted and that Walk Away platformed. I think that you got to be happy with the final product. I know it was trying to squeeze an orange to get orange juice with your own bare hands, kind of a process there, but you got it done. I think you're happy with the product. What has the response been? I've seen a lot of the clips that get shared on social media, but I was just one of the people on the panel. You actually hosted it. You put it on your channel. What has the response been to this first in what I'm hoping to be a series of debates hosted by Walk Away? What has the response been?
It's been really mixed, honestly. So it depends on what platform you're on. If you're on X or if you're on YouTube, it's been overwhelmingly positive. Not really surprising because obviously there's a lot of younger generations on those platforms, and they really appreciate that this conversation is happening. They appreciate the way that it's happened. I'm actually very proud of the fact that people are happy, not just with the content, but how the content was presented. Because it's so it's like you're always dealing with the peanut gallery when you're sort of in this industry, and it's like you spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of time and effort to do this stuff, and then you have people just pick, oh, I don't like the sound, I don't, why does it look like this, it's too, but almost everyone has been like, wow, this is amazing, this is great, like more of this. Now, go over to Facebook, and it's a very, very different story. My older audience on Facebook is not happy. I am absolutely purging followers every day. I probably lost at least 2,000 followers since I put this out. They're super mad. They don't like it. And it's really disappointing. Most of them have not watched it, but have chosen to unfollow me, even though they haven't seen it. And these are the same people who spent the last 8 months calling Charlie Kirk a saint, because he kept debate going, kept conversations going, and encouraged people to talk to each other. And now that we're having a conversation about a topic that hits close to home, suddenly debate is not a good thing anymore, and we want to shut it down.
Well, let me just say something positive about you, as far as your professionalism is concerned. What you've done is what so many people have failed to do throughout the years. And I actually think we're going to see the biggest fall off of this ever after 2028. But anybody that's been following politics for, let's say, a decade notices that every election cycle, people rise and people fall. And so there's people that were huge, household names in 2016. Now they're not even on the map. And so you started Walk Away. You got millions of followers. Your stuff was very viral. You had a major impact even on multiple election cycles, I would say. And yet, okay, you're kind of in this moment where the right wing became so big. Now it's fracturing off. What does Walk Away do? What do you do? How do you fill a role in this new void? And I think you found it. I mean, I was saying this day one when you brought this up to me. I said, I think this is brilliant to have these debate panels. Is this something that you do intend to continue? I know that you're going to publish our second one next week. But is that kind of how you view this now? This is like, okay, I need to kind of find a way to evolve with the times. I need to find a way to produce relevant political content right now for the time. Is this kind of a directional thing you see for Walk Away now?
Yes, it is. But one thing I want to clarify about what you said is it's in no way, shape, or form an attempt to be relevant or stay relevant, or every decision that I've ever made since I started Walk Away 8 years ago is I have gone entirely with my gut, and I have followed my heart as I've looked around and I've said, what is it right now that's happening in this country? What is happening in our culture that needs to be looked at and needs to be addressed? When I started Walk Away 8 years ago, it was very clear. Because I myself had walked away from the Democratic Party. I walked away from radical liberalism. We still have radical liberalism, and I'm never going to stop addressing that. That'll always be a focus of the work that we do. But it's not the only problem that we have right now. There's also sort of this radical cultism that's happening on the right. And it's nearly impossible to navigate through right now. So, a few months ago, so I'll put it this way. I went out and did a bunch of fundraising at the end of last year and the beginning of this year with the plan of putting all of our focus on the midterm elections and trying to address the affordability crisis and a lot of things that young people are feeling disenfranchised by in the conservative movement. I did not anticipate that about 6 months ago, there would be this enormous explosion and division that would take place based off of Iran, the Epstein files, Israel. None of these things were really being talked about that much, at least not on a mainstream level, until I would say about maybe 6 months ago. You were absolutely at the tip of the spear. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on your show. I've told you to your face privately, I admire you so much because I have seen how much heat you've taken as somebody who was very much behind President Trump, very much pro MAGA, and started to speak out about the cracks and the failings and what's not going right in this administration. I mean, you were doing it before just about anybody else. And now it's become a little bit more mainstream. And so my team and I were going, well, we can't just move forward with the same plans we had at the beginning of the year because they don't even make sense anymore. Like, the biggest issue is not the affordability crisis right now. It's an issue, but it's not the biggest issue. And so we were trying to figure out, what are we going to do? And I just said at one point, I was like, well, what if we actually just address the divide itself? I mean, my Facebook audience, which, by the way, the baby boomer kind of sect of the conservative movement, they are overwhelmingly the people who have funded Walkaway, supported Walkaway, been behind me, and I love them, and I'll never stop loving them. And we also have a lot of donors, major donors, who are very pro-Israel. And so there's a certain kind of content they want to see and they want to hear. But guess what? That kind of content is not resonating at all anymore with anybody, I'd say under the age of 40, but definitely under the age of 30. I mean, it's like two vastly different worlds. And I can't figure out do we step over here and then this explodes? Do we step over here and then this explodes? And so I said, well, let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about the fact that there are two, at least, distinctly different sects of the conservative movement right now. And I think there's more than two. And like, how do we navigate this world? And so that's what influenced our decision to do the first debate, which was generational, boomers versus millennials. But then the next one that we do that's coming out on June 10th is not generational, but it's ideological. It is 8 people, 4 of them were staunchly behind President Trump, staunchly behind MAGA for years, and now they have walked away from Trump and MAGA. The other 4 were staunchly behind Trump and MAGA and still are. And it's an ideological debate. That one's 10 times more explosive than the boomer debate, and that's coming out on June 10th. But yes, we're going to keep doing these. And the truth is, and I'm not trying to like pull out my little violin, but I'm just being very serious. I don't know, honestly, if Walkaway will survive this. I can very much see a world where we lose all of our support, and we lose our financial support, and we just can't continue on. I'm going to keep doing it anyway, because I think that this work that we're doing right now is actually more important than fighting the left. Because if we can't somehow figure out how to navigate this divide in the right now, it doesn't matter what our fight with the left is. Because I believe that if the midterms were tomorrow, I think at least 35% of people in the movement wouldn't even come out and vote at all, at minimum. I think anyone under the age of 30 probably would stay home, and maybe a lot more than that.
Well, I'm getting a similar, maybe even higher numbers. I don't know. I don't know what, it's hard to tell whether a person is going to go vote or not outside of, is there a candidate they support? Maybe there's an issue that they really want to get behind. But right now, I think that that's where it's like, who's winning on the issues. And I think that that's kind of where your debates come in. I can't remember if this was something that you had said, or maybe I thought of later, but you almost have the perfect opportunity to rebrand. It might've been you that said this, actually. You said to don't walk away. It's like, don't walk
I think that
away.
was David Pollock.
Was that David? Yeah, I recorded with him earlier, actually, that we pre-taped for his show tonight. So I was back talking to David earlier. But yeah, it is. I mean, that's kind of where it's at. It's like, are you able to face somebody that's very similar to you in ideology, maybe very similar to you as far as morals are concerned, but are you willing to face your differences in a panel style debate like this, where it's like, yeah, this is knockdown, drag out, who's going to win on the issue? And so I do think it's kind of, like you said, the second one is going to be more passionate. I'm curious how much of an import you take here, because to me, this is very important. This is very important to me personally. I want to be able to disagree with you, even if we're screaming, my veins are coming out of my neck, whatever, my temperature. It's like, I want to be able to have a political debate like that and still not hate anybody and still not have any hate in my heart, and be able to move forward amicably. I think that was mostly expressed in round 2. Round 1, we were all amicable afterwards. Round 2, there might have been a little, maybe some issues here or there. We won't say too much now. They can see for themselves. How important is that for you to be able to have these style debates and say, hey, we need to be able to do this and not hate one another?
Yeah, well, so when we put out the second debate, which will be Wednesday, June 10th, I intend when we finish editing, we're still in the editing process. I intend to actually end it with maybe a minute or two of pictures of all of us going out for drinks after that debate.
I don't think all of us.
I was about to say we were missing two. So we had a couple of girls, one on each side of the aisle that, believe it or not, we almost ended up with a girl fight. I actually had to get out of my chair and sit some people back down to make sure things didn't get physical. And unfortunately, the girls were not able to resolve that before the rest of us went out for drinks at the end of the night. But other than that, both sides of the aisle did come together, and it was pretty passionate and at times, very heated. But we all came together at the end and kind of put it behind us and had a good time with one another. And that's what I would like to see it be like going forward. But that's, again, part of the reason why I think doing this type of content and having these discussions is really important, because we're not just disagreeing with each other anymore on the issues. It's getting really personal, and it's to the point of character assassinations and character attacks. And this whole issue of Israel has sent things like beyond the stratosphere of crazy, because my whole brand, like my whole image since I came into the world of politics, has been about trying to bring minority communities to the table, get people thinking for themselves, waking up, seeing themselves as individuals, and joining us over on the right, where I have been. And I am now on a daily basis getting called a Jew hater, an anti-Semite, and a Nazi by MAGA, which, never used to talk like this, never used to use terms like this. But even all of that aside, it's like they're completely disregarding who I am and all of the work I've done for 8 years. If I mention Iran or the topic of Israel, then it becomes an attack on my character, that I hate Jews and I'm actively trying to get Jews killed. And this is where I'm going. Now we're not debating policy. We're not debating issues. We're debating my intentions and my character. And I really resent that. And I don't want to see that kind of behavior ever come to the right, but it already has, unfortunately. And people are like knee deep in it. So I want to eradicate that kind of behavior and get back to the point where we're debating policy and debating ideas and not taking it personally and making it personal, and we can still be friends.
It's funny here. You bring that up. And I could get into this. I am going to ask you something directly, but I'll kind of softball it. Let's approach it calmly here first. It does seem that this is the one issue where it's like you can't have big tent conservatism. If we look at everything that developed inside of MAGA, the big tent conservatism included transgenderism. It included LGBTQ themed MAGA events, even, a lot of these ideological things that we would kind of place on the left politically. The right wing was able to say, hey, big tent, we're okay with this. We have a similar ideology on where we want the country to go. We have similar issues as far as that need to be addressed. So let's have a big tent conservatism, even if there are some things that we might not view as conservatism, or even right-wingers used to stand vehemently against just a decade ago. It's like, okay, big tent conservatism. But the one issue is with foreign policy. And so if you want to be, Lady MAGA and show up cross-dressed and go speak at events, that's fine. But if you want to have a foreign policy debate and you're not all in for whatever Israel's desires in the region, it's like, no, there's no room in the tent for you. And so we watch this big tent get built on the right under the MAGA brand. And now all of a sudden, people are getting kicked out for a foreign policy discussion.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I'll say it too. I'm completely sensitive to the idea that there are people who feel very strongly about Israel. I get why they feel strongly about Israel. I get the concern that a lot of Jewish people have about the existence of Israel. I don't have an issue with any of that. What I have a problem with is that we're not allowed to criticize or make any sort of commentary about the government of Israel's involvement in our elections, as we just saw with Thomas Massey, involved in our government and our foreign policy decisions. And that if you bring up these conversations, again, it becomes a character assassination and that you hate Jews. And I got to tell you, just from a pure marketing standpoint, you're losing people by doing that. And again, I'm somebody who has been very sensitive to this cause. I have been very, very sensitive to the Jewish community's feelings about their own safety, about their own existence, about the threats that they face. I've been very sensitive and very supportive on this. But it's like, if you're going to shut people down and attack their character for having these kind of conversations, you're going to lose support. And I see it happening all of the time. So you're working against your own interests, you're working against your own cause, but also don't tell any American citizen that they're not allowed to question any foreign government and their involvement in our government, our elections, or their influence over our elected officials. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear it about any country for any reason. And I don't like the injection of this kind of identity politics and emotional manipulation to say that any nation is off limits from being discussed, criticized, talked about. And this is becoming more and more of a mainstream conversation. And I don't think it's going the right direction that people want it to go in. I don't think they're making people more sympathetic to this cause. I think they're alienating more people from the cause.
Brandon Straka is our guest, founder of the Walkaway Movement. Follow him on X and YouTube, the Walkaway Movement and Brandon Straka. All right, that was kind of the soft approach. Now let's go with the a little more heavy-handed approach here. From my experience, and I've talked to other people with a very similar, if not the exact same experience, the level of hatred that we're getting from the right now, that we're getting specifically from the MAGA right now, is equal to, maybe arguably greater than, any hatred we ever got from the radical left. Now, this is from my perspective in the lane that I was in, which was different than the lane you were in. You were kind of coming from a perspective of, hey, former radical left liberal progressivism, here's where it's failing us. Here's where the right wing maybe we identified with more now. Let's walk away from the radical left. Through your experience, is it similar with the radical right, the MAGA right, however we want to classify this? Is it similar that the level of hatred and vitriol has either equaled where it was at with the radical left or even eclipsed it?
Yes, it's at minimum, it's identical. At minimum, it's identical. And it's hard to say if it's worse, only because I take it much, much more personally from the right. And maybe with the left, when I was on the left, I wasn't like a well-known person. I wasn't a public figure. I was just sort of like an unknown guy who was a liberal, and yes, I dedicated myself to some social and political causes that I would fight for. And when the left started to turn on me before I started Walkaway, I certainly felt that and I took that personally. But if you follow American politics, there's a good chance you've at least heard of me or you've at least heard of Walkaway and what I've done. And what I'm finding now is that if I say what I consider to be very, very reasonable things, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have failed us in the FBI, or Pam Bondi and now Attorney General Todd Blanche are failing us in the DOJ, or that I would like to see justice for the January 6ers who have had their lives destroyed for 5.5 years and have heard not a single word from President Trump, not a single word from anybody in the administration. And now they've definitively announced today that they are, in fact, permanently shutting down the weaponization fund that was supposed to allegedly help these J6ers. If we talk about any of those issues, I'm not only mob attacked by people in MAGA. I'm hearing things like, well, what have you ever done? Who are you? Like, what have you ever contributed? I'm going, are you kidding? Number one, I spent 8 years traveling the country, being chased down the street by Antifa, being chased by BLM, spit on, punched, attacked, getting our events shut down constantly. going into dangerous communities. We don't just go do conservative events at conservative colleges. I always went into radical leftist strongholds and did walkaway events, marches, rallies, town halls, debates. Then I got arrested for showing up on January 6th. A lot of these people didn't show up on January 6th. I did. I showed up. I fought for the cause of the 2020 election. I was raided by the FBI, thrown in jail, had my life torn apart, deplatformed. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And I have people in MAGA saying, "What have you ever done? Who are you?" Not to mention, of course, calling me a Nazi and a Jew hater and an anti-Semite. And so I'm just like, man, where's the loyalty? Like, what is the morality of this movement? I mean, this is I thought that these were the people that were, Christians and put God above all other things. And I see these people acting borderline demonic, at times. And I'm like, I've seen this movie before. But when I saw it before, it was at least from a godless base of people on the radical left. Now I've got like devout Christians coming at me just as hard as the radical left ever did. And I'm like, I don't get it. But it just goes to show you mob mentality is mob mentality, and it doesn't have a political side. And I just, in my gut, believe that 80% of all people, no matter what political affiliation, are just followers, and they're looking for a leader to tell them what to do. And right now, they've completely abandoned their principles. They've abandoned their conscience, excuse me, and in many ways abandoned their religious beliefs, and they're just following a leader who's telling them what to think and what to do. And it's really unfortunate because they're falling for propaganda, they're falling for lies, and they're believing false narratives, and they're attacking anybody who's calling this out. And I'm now at the point where I'm one of those people.
Well, you said abandon their consciousness. You retracted that. I don't know if that was actually so accurate. It might not have been what you meant to say, but I think, these people seem to abandon their consciousness too. I'm not so sure they're even conscious anymore. They're behaving like the NPCs, right? The memes that we put out there about the left, and the two things that you just brought up that I want to circle back to. When I see the people doing the, "Oh, what have you ever done" bit, to me, that just shows their ignorance, right? And it's never, because I've never seen you do this. It's never something I've done where we try to make some claim of stake in the political movement. Like, hey, I did this, and so therefore I'm above you. That's never been your attitude. That's never been my attitude.
Right.
And yet yet it's like now we're getting that. So when I see that, I'm just thinking, okay, clearly you're the Johnny come lately. Clearly you're the follower. You weren't MAGA probably before 2024. You haven't been through the weeds and the battles and everything with us for the last 10 years. And it's an amazing thing when you see that, because it's like they've only exposed themselves. And that's why, your perspective on this, my perspective on this, that's why it's so unique, because it's like when somebody comes at you and says, "Well, what have you done?" You're like, what? It's like, what do you mean? What, who, how do you can't even respond to that. It's like, what do you, but the point is, that's how you know that there's a serious disconnect. That's how you know that whatever this new MAGA is, it's not what we built. It's not what we came from.
Well, and there's just an absolutely like unreasonable, irrational attitude that's happening to you. Like literally 5 minutes before I started this interview with you, I put out a post of Todd Blanche saying today definitively that the fund is shut down now. And he was asked the question, permanently, forever? He said, yes, permanently, forever. And so I put out a post saying, hey, a lot of you scolded me yesterday when I said the DOJ was shutting down the fund, and you told me to trust the plan and that they were going to appeal this. And I was a really bad person for not just believing, that the Trump admin was going to advance this weaponization fund. And a woman dropped into my comments and she said, they're going to pursue it in a different way. Like why don't you know that? And I said, can you please link me to some sort of evidence of what you're saying? Know that?
Yeah, trust the plan. Like, come on.
No, but wait. I said, could you please link me to what you're sourcing when you say that? And she goes, can you link me to something that shows I'm wrong? And I said, so you want me to prove to you that something you just made up you want me to find the counter evidence to something you just made up. Like they're irrational at this point. They're completely irrational. And this is just not the same MAGA. It just isn't.
Well, here's the other one. This is the other side of that. You brought up how there's the name calling. And when you go back to, let's say, 2016, I think when it was probably the most consequential to be a public Trump supporter, maybe 2017, it's like those were the 2 years where if you were going out in a MAGA hat, you were facing the most public criticism, even, safety threats. I mean, honestly, there were hundreds of assaults in people that were wearing Trump hats. And so we were kind of there for that. And part of the attack mechanism was calling you names. They used to call you an anti-Semite then too. You're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, all of that stuff. And it's like, yourself. So somebody says you're a racist, you're like, well, I know that's not true. So everything else you're saying now, I have to question its legitimacy. You're this phobe, you're a thatist, and it's all this stuff. And we're like, okay, we know none of this is true. So you have a political disagreement with me. You can't really defend your side of the issue. So you're waving the white flag intellectually and philosophically, and you're just going to name calling. It's like, okay, and we called it woke, and many people walked away from it. Well, now it's the same thing happening on the right. They do the same name calling against you. They do this whole name calling campaign. You're at least platforming a debate, opportunity for people. But to me, it's just like, this is where they lose you. This is where they lose you when you start calling people names and they know it's not true. You look like a crazy person. And it's like, this is where we're trying to kind of warn people on the right. I don't want to hand the country over to the left. This is not my goal here. This is why we're trying to warn people on the right. And we're saying, look, you guys are killing the golden goose. If you start acting just like the radical left did, you're going to end up like the radical left behind, walked away from, losing elections. And it's like, why do we have to go through this process of losing all of our momentum, spending all of our political capital, giving the country back to the left? We're trying to stop it, and then we're the ones that are going to be blamed for it. But I just get back to the phenomenon of the same people calling us names for disagreements on the left. It's like now it's the same people, it's just on the right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I probably even receive another level of that you don't, which is these people that used to be so proud of me and lift me up because I opened my mind, I changed my mind. I was thinking for myself and I left the Democratic Party. Now they've weaponized that against me. So what I hear from a lot of my followers now, anytime I ask any legitimate questions or address any legitimate concerns about the administration, they say to me, you're going back to your liberal Democrat ways, Brandon. I'm so disappointed in you. I guess you never got that Democrat fully out of you. And I'm like, wow, okay, first of all, how nasty to take that approach. But second of all, of the two of us, one person has a track record of repeatedly having an open mind, taking in new information, making new decisions based off of that new information, and being willing to be flexible and change my mind. The other person has never changed their mind about anything and is now like a rigid adherent to whatever narrative comes out of the White House. But I'm the stupid one. I'm the idiot who apparently has some sort of propensity of going back to my cultish Democrat ways if I in any way express any kind of dissent about anything that a narrative that the current administration puts out. So they're actually the same people who were proud of me for walking away are now actually weaponizing that against me if I continue to express having an open mind.
Well, and it's like you said earlier, the cult has just moved. It's just the cult-like behavior. It's just like somebody snapped their finger and now it's all happening inside of MAGA. And you're just like the beacon. It's like you're just standing there as a lightning rod. It's like, hey, there's a storm out here. Look, here's the lightning. And then it's just you can look at what you're doing and see it. And I think another example has to be the fact that, and I don't know if you're seeing this, I'm seeing this. I guess I shouldn't assume that you're seeing this. I see people saying, oh, you're going back to prison. I hope Trump sends you back to prison. These are MAGA people, by the way. These are MAGA people.
Yeah.
We get a level of that from the left, right? I mean, they put us there. But it's like weird. It's like, okay, since when now is MAGA wishing I go to prison? It's like, what in the hell happened here?
Yeah. Well, yes, I am seeing that. And then even a softer version of that, but also I think just like equally enraging is, Trump hasn't come right out and said yet that it's time to move on from January 6th. I'm sure it's coming at any moment. But he's certainly done enough to indicate that he doesn't want to deal with it, and he doesn't want to deal with the people who went through it, and he doesn't want to actually kind of like close the circle on what people have gone through in it. And I think that a lot of the diehards are feeling that, and the way they're processing it, I hear them all the time say it's time to move on from January 6th. I'm tired of hearing about this. What you guys went through was really rough, but you got to just move on. It's time to move on. Like, it's gotten old. And I'm like, wow, what an easy thing for you to say. And by the way, I never make it about myself, although they come at me personally for ever bringing it up. I have always said, and I will always say, I was one of the very luckiest people who had to go through this because I had so much support. It didn't completely destroy my life. It didn't completely bankrupt me, but it certainly did that to hundreds and hundreds of people. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people lost their entire life savings, lost their homes, lost their cars, lost their spouses and their children, like literally lost everything. And you want them to just move on because it's inconvenient for you to have to keep hearing about it or talking about it, when in fact we actually would move on if these people could be made whole. It's been a year and a half. And these people have never heard from anybody in the Trump administration, never heard from the president, never heard from Pam Bondi, never heard from Todd Blanche, have not received a dime of compensation, nothing. But they're the inconvenient ones for continuing to talk about what their experience was because they stood up for President Trump. Okay.
Well, here's where I like to get them on this, and feel free to take this tactic because it's what needs to be done. And this is really why my street debates became so popular, is because I understand, I might even argue I've mastered the bait and switch. So basically, whenever I see somebody making a similar statement, I say, okay, well, hold on a second. Let's find a new genesis point here. Okay, was the Biden administration corrupt? Of course, right? Nobody's arguing the Biden administration wasn't corrupt. All right, the Biden administration was corrupt. Did the Biden administration weaponize the government? Well, yeah, the Biden administration weaponized. Okay, so there's still no denial. All right, we're all on the same track here. Okay. So then, did the Biden administration have political prisoners? Yes, the Biden administration, they arrested people, they politically persecuted people. I'm like, okay, we're all on the same track here. Biden administration was corrupt. Biden administration weaponized the government. Biden administration had political persecutions and imprisonments. All right, we all in agreement here. Now, do we not agree then there needs to be justice here? This isn't about Owen Schroyer. This isn't about Brandon Strzok. This is about a corrupt government that weaponized against its political opponents and put its political opposition in prison. That's what we're talking about here. And if you're willing to say, oh, we need to move on, if you're willing to say, oh, you're just making this about you, if that's your attitude towards this, well, then there it is right there. That's why our country is in the hole it's in today. That's why we never fixed any corruption with our government. Quite frankly, that's why somebody with me is breaking from now what is mainstream right-wing MAGA, is because we don't have the same tolerance for corruption. We don't have the same tolerance for, hey, let's just let it go and continue the same level of corruption now that we're in power. No, we're saying we thought this was different. We're saying, no, we want justice. We want to actually drain the swamp, arrest the deep state. We all agree this is what happened in the Biden years. So why is it that they now are all of a sudden okay with saying we don't need to arrest anybody? I think that's and when you can get them to realize that, that's when you expose that they're not thinking for themselves. They're really not even ideologically or logically consistent. And then you have to reach the conclusion, this is why our country is corrupt, because there are some of us that never want to actually deal with the corruption.
There's like no critical thinking going on at all anymore. And it's like, as you were kind of as you were walking me through the steps of that debate, I knew exactly the moment where like the brain would start glitching with the cognitive dissonance, having that kind of conversation with them. And this is part of the reason why I feel nothing but disgust for people like Dan Bongino. I mean, just absolute disgust, because it's one thing for these people to just believe in their gut, like, oh, the DOJ is being cleaned up and the FBI is being cleaned up, and it's one thing for them to just think that in the absence of any information. But Dan Bongino is actually actively lying to them. He's actively lying to them. And the reason why he's actively lying to them is because he wants to get all of the credit and the accolades for being a tough guy and for being a game changer, when in fact he did nothing at all. And he knows he did nothing at all. He knows he's lying. And he's not just lying, he's openly propagandizing, because he's also telling them anybody who contradicts what I'm saying is a doomer and a panicant, and they're trying to destroy the movement. So believe the lies I'm telling you, and anyone who says anything to the contrary is your enemy. This is Dan Bongino's message. Meanwhile, the very real repercussions of his message are that, in fact, the DOJ and the FBI have not been cleaned out at all. And the vast majority of the people who did this to me and to you and all of the other J6ers and the school board parents and the people who suffered during COVID and any other number of weaponization instances, including President Trump and his family and the people around them, most of them are still there, ready and waiting to do it all over again when this administration changes. So to sit there and have cognitive dissonance and to live in a fairy tale where you think like, oh, it's all been done. No, you're the people. And by the way, I don't think they're going to come after us again. I hear this all the time. Oh my God, Brandon, if Democrats get back in power, they're going to put you guys in prison. I don't think so. I think that they had their fun with you. I think they had their fun with me. I don't think they're going to come after me again. I think they're going to go after new people. So any of you out there who got off scot-free the first time around, you're the people who should be quaking in your boots right now, because I think they're done with me, but they're not done with you, and they're still there, and they're still waiting to do it again. This is our window of opportunity, closing every minute, to actually clean this stuff up and make a difference. And it's not happening. And you're being lied to by the people that are being hired by this administration to go in there and do it. And you're being propagandized. And that's why I have nothing but disgust for Dan Bongino.
Well, I would go one step further and say, yeah, I agree. Not just that they're not going to be coming for us anymore. They might be coming for them, Brandon, except there's one key difference. As soon as the weather gets bad, they're all going to disappear. I'll bet my entire career on it that all of the current MAGA talking heads and sycophants, the minute the weather gets bad, the minute that it's time to stand in the fray and take a hit for your politics, none of them will be there. And really, this isn't even me guessing or contemplating. I know this for a fact. You know why? Because they haven't been there before. I've been in the courtrooms. You've been in the courtroom. I've been in the federal institutions. You've been in the federal institutions. I've been in the streets. You've been in the streets. None of them were ever there, Brandon. Not even once. Not even one time. So I would say, hey, they're not going to be coming after me, because why would I stand in the fray again? I'm not going to stand in the fray again. I'm not going to do that. But you know what? I know they're not going to do it either. And this has kind of been my warning for Trump. If he thinks these people are going to stand in the fray for him, not just inside the Republican Party, but, culturally, politically with the people, none of these people will be in the fray. They will all disappear as soon as they actually have to pay a price for it. None of them will be there. So I do agree that, hey, we're not going to be the ones they're coming after now. It'll be them, but they won't be coming after them because they'll back down. They'll back down. The reason they came after us is because we don't back down. That's why they came after us. And I would say in closing too, because you kind of mentioned this as well, if we're not willing to go after political corruption and arrest people for weaponizing the government against their political opposition, then what movement is there? To me, there is no movement. Don't tell me about a movement. Don't tell me about MAGA if we're not going to be arresting people for imprisoning their political opposition. There is no movement. There is no MAGA. And there's not going to be anything after this except, like you're saying, exactly what we experienced before, because we never did anything about it.
Well, it's like it's like a great magic trick that it's like they've swapped, so before, like what we used to consider to be the establishment, it was sort of like the warmongering, people who were always trying to send us to wars in the Middle East and all this stuff, and Trump wasn't going to do that, and MAGA was going to be totally different, and we were supposed to drain the swamp and clean out our government and de-weaponize everything. And like now somehow they found this magical way of convincing everyone that all the same establishment policies and talking points are what is needed right now, and everyone's kind of just going along with it, and basically saying like, stop complaining that about the de-weaponization, and stop complaining about the swamp, because look at what's happening. Look what's happening in Iran, and look at what we're doing, and we had to destabilize Iran, and I'm like, but this is just George Bush stuff. Like, what makes MAGA MAGA then? Like, what is MAGA about this? I don't get it.
Brandon Straka from the Walkaway Movement. Follow him on X at Brandon Straka. At least that's how it looks. It's not how it's pronounced, though. Or Walkaway on YouTube. And I'm really excited to see the next drop. And hopefully you guys can continue to do these debate panels. Not only are they fun, I do believe that they are also necessary. And I know you're really sticking your neck out there to make these things happen. And in a way, you're making a big political wager. You're making a big political wager doing this stuff. So I wish you nothing but success doing it. Glad to be a part of it. Brandon Straka, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. And if I could say really quickly before we close out, just very fast, I really encourage people to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Walkaway Campaign, and please give me a follow on X. And the reason why I say that is because we are actually losing a lot of support by doing this. So if you are somebody who agrees with Owen, or if you agree with me, I could certainly use a little bit of backup and support right now, and I'd appreciate getting that follow from you guys. And if you're able to support the content that we're doing so that we can keep doing this as we're losing support, please go to walkawaycampaign.com. Thank you.
All right. We'll be in touch, man. Glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Owen.
Okay. Good stuff there from Brandon Straka. And I'm telling you, these debates, folks, they're only going to get better. So let's get as much support behind Brandon Straka and his YouTube channel as much as possible so we can keep these things going. All right. We are up against the close of the show. Tonight, I will be on... Let's see. Tonight I will be on David Pollock's show. We pre-taped that earlier. After this show, I'm going on with Jake Shields. So just communicating here now. So that's going to happen probably about 6:15. All right, so coordinating all of this right now. We do need to get to our super chats before we sign off. A couple other things, though. Well, we can probably hold this over. I need to slop you up a little bit, though. Slop you up a little bit. So the Dallas Mavericks are leaving the American Airlines Center. The Dallas Stars might be doing it as well. I don't know if that's confirmed. Folks, this is so crazy to me. So they want to move to greener pastures. It looks like the whole thing was a setup. And they're saying, oh, we can't get the right practice facility. And I think that's just the team BSing because they want to move and build a giant casino and all of this other stuff. And it's the Adelson casino magnate money. And they're also trying to lobby Texas to turn gambling legal. So all of this is tied in. It's tied into the Luka Doncic trade. It's all tied in. And if they can't do it, they're going to threaten to move the team to Las Vegas so the Adelsons can build a big sporting casino arena operation. And so that's what they're trying to do. The American Airlines Center is arguably the best arena in the country for hockey and basketball games. I don't know if there is a better arena than the American Airlines Center, and they're just abandoning it because the Adelsons need more money, and they need to have a casino attached to the arena. So it's just crazy what goes on. And by the way, The Stanley Cup finals start tonight in Carolina. The Carolina Hurricanes hosting the Vegas Knights. I was shocked that Carolina was such a favorite. I did anticipate Carolina would be a little bit of a favorite. I think Carolina has the better team skill-wise to make a long run. But I feel like the Knights have the experience and the momentum right now. I like the underdog money. I got to tell you. I went Knights. And I do think they win tonight, too. Don't take my gambling advice. And we'll save the NBA stuff till that starts, I guess, tomorrow, I think. I think that starts tomorrow. Yeah, guys, we're slopping it up here. And you'll thank me later. You'll thank me later for delivering this slop. You're going to need it. You're going to need this slop eventually. All right, let's go to our super chats before we sign off here. Let's see. Okay. Billy Cardano, ONN chat, what do you think is the purpose behind this creation? Not just the earthly realm, but all that was created by God. What exists beyond the bauble of this specific creation? You want me to answer that question in how long? I can't. That's wow. Well, I think that you should definitely enjoy it. Whether we know the purpose or not, you should definitely enjoy it. All Trump hats now are gay. All MAGA hats are gay now. That's good. You got me. Billy got me with that one. Pulte's father and grandfather were big-time real estate developers. Yeah, his father specifically has some interesting connections, but I'm not even thinking about. I mean, to me, maybe the father's connections is how he ends up with the title, but it's all about the title is nothing. This is about Trump basically telling you there is no intelligence community. I am the intelligence community, and I basically have my own sources, aka Bibi Netanyahu. So Trump has I mean, really, if it wasn't Tulsi Gabbard, you might argue the whole thing is corrupt anyway. So it's like it's a very complex issue. But I mean, this is Trump basically breaking from the U.S. I mean, honestly, this is Trump breaking from the United States of America's intelligence infrastructure. You could argue this is total betrayal, honestly. But let's just be clear. For those that are joining late here, we covered this in the first hour. The reason why Trump nominated a housing and development expert for director of national intelligence is because there is no director of national intelligence. It doesn't exist. Trump has abandoned any U.S. intelligence. And that's why Vance gets sidelined. That's why Joe Kent is gone. That's why Tulsi Gabbard is gone. That's why they've been sidelined since last spring. Trump has completely broken from U.S. intelligence. He doesn't get the reports. They said the same thing about his first term, for better or worse. So Pulte is literally there because Trump doesn't want a director of national intelligence. David Wormser is in Trump's ear, same as Bush. Well, that makes sense. Nana bread. Similar results between the two. In this country, we talk about our country's singular God, Jesus Christ, from Das Vault. The hacktivist. To be on Trump's administration, you have to pledge your undying fealty to him and Israel. Gee, what would make you think that? Ivan, Trump team planted the Bibi story to make it look like he is standing up to him. We can clearly see it's propaganda and to not make Trump look weak. I think a lot of people agree with that. And they did the same thing with Biden. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Not everybody, not yet. Never forget the dancing Qataris on September 11th. That's true. Those dancing Qataris need to be investigated. Very suspicious, the dancing Qataris. I'm guessing Tay from Florida was not at the Israel Day parade. I don't even know what that is. Wifey, I hate that Mamdani is so likable. Trump and Mamdani courtside at a Knicks finals game. Let's see it. Employ Strong for Life. I remember listening to your show and getting high volume strung out. These days, you're about one of the few that bring feelings of hope. It was a me problem, not a you problem. God help me get here. Thank you. I do think I get misinterpreted as a negative force when I'm just doing news coverage. I don't determine the direction of the, is it good or bad? No, I'm actually a very positive person, actually. Anti-Semitic hate speech law is already being passed. Yeah, I think there's some things you can't bet on with the outcome of this administration. And maybe you wonder, is it the stock market? When is the deal going to crash? You feel like the stock market's going down. But it's like, do you want to sell all the different stock that the Trump family has? It's like, is that the safest bet? If you just get all the stock that the Trump family has, it's like Trump is going to do anything possible to enrich that before they leave office. Rest in peace, Henry Nowak. Big story in the UK. Fake account. Nothing more disgusting than the gatekeepers to my first home who have achieved nothing but failure, accusing me of racism for refusing to accept self-defense can be invoked on innocent children. Yeah, those innocent. Well, they say they were going to, those innocent children were terrorists. That's literally what they say. Boomer Book. Facebook, Boomer Book. We're having issues with that, by the way. I'll leave it at that. Release the catfight clip, Brandon. Oh, it'll be out. Don't worry. Don't worry, wifey. You'll see it. We're going to censor you from social media if you say we can't, if you say we can censor you from social media. Yeah. We don't control the banks, and so you're debanked for saying we control the banks. We don't control the media, so you're censored and banned from the media for saying we control the media. Oh, what an incredible time to be alive. They like to weaponize semantics and then hope you're too stupid to notice. Phil 61, Trump and MAGA moved to the left. Therefore, all of our criticism comes from the left. Oh, don't tell them that. They haven't figured that one out yet. Mark Levin is my spirit animal. Yeah. Well, hey, Mark Levin is upset. Mark Levin's his bloodlust isn't satiated. Levin just cannot rest until innocent people are dead with Israeli bombs and missiles and bullets. So Mark Levin is not sleeping well tonight. Logan, I'm still waiting for people to wake up and realize that both parties are corrupt and have been for a very long time. People haven't realized that yet? Dang. I left MAGA when I heard of boomer twerk sessions at rallies. Is that what we're calling Trump's dance now? A boomer twerk session? Not a bad description. New York police investigate videos of men emerging from city sewer system 23 minutes ago on the BBC News outlet. Thanks for the show, Owen. God bless. Tunnels? Emerging from tunnels? Sewer systems? Not at 6 o'clock. Don't do that to me at 6 o'clock at the end of the show. What are you doing to me, man? What are you doing? I'm more of a doomer than you are, so F them haters. Thanks, wifey. Thank you for standing up for me there. All right, what is this story? What? Is Mamdani on the case? I don't see anything. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Guys, look at this. Make the memes. New York police investigate mysterious cases of people coming out of manholes. Investigation follows circulation of videos showing groups climbing out of sewer systems across the city at night. New York City manhole mole people have plundered sewer for lost treasures for decades. All right, so we're not talking about dirty, blood, crap-stained mattress, religious sex crawling out of sewers. I don't think that's what we're addressing here. I think we're talking about people that just kind of live in the sewers in New York City. I think that's just happening. I think that's the case. Wow. New York City. That is something else, huh? Enjoy the World Cup. That'll be good for you guys. You can't criticize them, but they can criticize all. Well, not just criticize. Does missile strike rhyme with criticize? Well, whatever. We're going with it. We're going with it. All right. That's going to do it for today. I will be joining Jake Shields pretty much immediately after we sign off. We were set to go at 6:30. He's asking me if I want to go early, so we might pop off a little early. I do believe Jake streams that live. David Pollock's show on OAN, that airs at 7 o'clock. That'll air later tonight. We pre-taped a segment with David, but Jake will be live, and we're going to sign off right here, and the Owen Report will take a 21-hour break. We'll be back same time, same channel tomorrow. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, your super chats, sharing the show. Give us a follow on YouTube. Don't forget, give us a follow on YouTube and a follow on X. And if you listen to the audio archives, we're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, rumble.com/Owen. It's all there. Thanks so much for everybody for tuning in. We'll do it again tomorrow. See you then.